Good morning. Welcome to our summer council meeting. Thanks for coming out. I'm going to start the meeting off with, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? There are none? Great. Review of items not listed on the agenda. Madam Clerk.
Your Worship, there was an addendum went out on late Friday afternoon. We had 3 reports, 2 bylaws.
Great, thank you. We'll go with announcements. We'll start, Councillor Bryan, start with you.
Good morning, everybody. Just a couple of quick announcements. Mine are all just going to be involved with golf tournaments, because I know everybody else has been really busy for the last month. Last Monday, I was at the Lake Ridge Health golf tournament down at Windance, where they raised, I'm not sure the exact amount, but it was, I believe, $10,000 or $20,000 for the Cancer Society, or for the cancer equipment down at Lake Ridge Health, which is terrific. Mayor Malloy and I were in the Gorgons tournament on Saturday, which was a great fundraiser as well for the community groups. And just a reminder that this Friday is the Mayor's Golf Tournament at Wooden Sticks at 7:30, and I hope that all the councillors will be in attendance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Regional Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, everyone. My announcement is to deal with Mrs. Barton's 100th birthday. It was a pleasure to be there. Marg Barton turned 100, and there was the reception at the United Church on Saturday, and the place was packed. I had the privilege of coaching her 2 sons in hockey in the 1960s, and again in the 1990s. So we go back a long time, and as a kid, I wandered all through their farm over there. There were no houses, so it was just a wonderful day to a wonderful lady.
Councillor Barton.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to talk mostly about Canada Day, and just a whole bunch of thank yous here. So, great event. It was really warm. Lots of people had an incredible time. And it was a great Made in Uxbridge event. So now for the thank yous. First of all, to my teammate beside me, Jack. He managed all the gates and all the personnel for that, and it was a huge help. Ingrid spent lots and lots of hours arranging insurance and liability, and anyway, huge help this year. Thank you so much, Ingrid. Pam worked really hard on the paperwork and helped organize the event throughout. The park staff were incredible. The park looked amazing. And then Bob Ferguson, the hot water tank quit just before the event on the Friday night. And Friday night before the long weekend, he found a way to get it going. So I don't know if he got a new one or how he managed it, but it was a great help. Leah Daniels put on Rock the Bridge, which was a talent show, again, Made in Uxbridge, Uxbridge residents, and it was a really fun addition to the event for the 2nd year. The cadets showed up early Monday morning and cleaned up. My wife stepped up last minute and created a cooling first aid tent to deal with heat exhaustion. And then our committee were incredible. And a few of the members are here today. So we had Michelle Viney, Dave Dickey, Elaine Lee, Colleen Baskin was not officially a member, but certainly did lots of work behind the scenes. And then Joel Spears. And Robin Coombs, with our chair, did a fantastic job. And then sponsors, the Bonner Boys were incredibly generous. TD Bank, Stanmore Equipment, Pet Value, Victom, Cinder Gravel, Randy Hoban, Stouffville Glass, Keith Flowers, Cindy Wood, Trussell Excavating, Uxbridge Memorial, Community Cleaning, Pharmasave, and the Uxbridge Lions Club. It's fantastic. Thanks to everyone who helped out. Thanks for the councillors that came. It was another fantastic Canada Day.
Great, thank you. Councillor Beach.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just some things for the coming future. On July 20th, we're having the Jumpstart Games, very important and a great event. And on the 28th, the Scottish Festival. I'd love to see you all out there and enjoying the day. And then on the 29th, YDHR is having boxcar and beers, so that may interest a few of you. And then on August the 5th, the Quaker Meeting House has open doors, so if you have never been in there, it's a great experience to see where some of our roots came from. And then on August the 10th, so this is reaching just a little bit further, Mystery Murder, The Mummy's Curse. And one of council will be there as one of the lead characters, so you'll have to get a ticket and come out and see. Anyways, thanks a lot and have a great day.
Thank you. Councillor Hyatt.
I hope you're not going to be the mummy, are you? I won't mention the things that are already been mentioned. Just a couple of things that happened over the last few days. We had the pooch and a pint yesterday. So if you were over at the second wedge, everybody was there with their pooch. Unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to our pooch a couple of weeks ago. So it was a sad day, but it was a happy day too to see all the new dogs that were there. Also, they had the Hits Fest over the weekend. Was quite a success. The weather could have been a little better, I'm sure, but the event went off nonetheless. We have a couple of other things coming up. Councillor Beach has already mentioned some of them. The Mayor's Golf, exactly. So that's on Friday. So everybody's going to be there. We'll give you a job to do. So hopefully Council can be there to welcome the guests. Also, what hasn't been mentioned is the Ride to Remember for Brent Foster is on July 31st. That's a ride that put together by a couple of local residents. It raises money for charity, so if you can attend, that would be great. So if you ride a motorcycle, that's the place you want to be on July the 31st. So, thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Councillor Rona. Turn your mic on, Gary, will you, please?
I should just mention that about a week and a half ago, with the help of Mayor Malloy and a few other volunteers, we built a couple of horseshoe pits in Zephyr at the park. So I thought I would just mention that.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, a couple weeks ago we put 4 pits in up at Zephyr, and one of the reasons we did that is because we intend to challenge the ones that are up at the Historical Society that Councillor Ballinger put in a few weeks ago. So we're working on that challenge, okay, Jack? We're getting ready for you, don't worry.
Get your money out.
All right, we're ready. We'll be ready. Also, as Councillor Ballinger said, the 100th birthday party for Margaret Barton. It was unbelievable how many people were there. There must have been 150 people there. I'm not sure, but the place was packed. And she was so spry and ready to go. She was having a great time. So it was really nice to see. 100 years. I hope some of us can make it that far. And Hits Fest was a great day. The weather was a bit of a damper, but I think by the end of the night it turned out pretty good. So all is well. Great event. All right, we're going to go to a couple presentations, and these are accessibility awards. And the first one will be to Maria from Mondo. And if you don't mind coming up, Maria, I'll just read a little thing out front here. I think I'll bring a few of these back, eh? You know what, Maria, I think I'll read it from here so they can see it on the videotape. If I stand there, they won't hear me. And it is, no, you can stay there if you don't want. Stay there. Sorry. We are being videotaped. Oh, can I use that? Great, thanks, Debbie. That's even better. Good, that's great. I'll just read a little thing, if you don't mind, Maria. We'll turn this way and we'll face everybody. That's great. I think everybody knows Maria already. So Maria owns Mondo Hair Salon, and we've seen her out in the street for many, many times. What a wonderful business she runs here. The Mondo Hair Salon is receiving our 2018 Township of Uxbridge Business Accessibility Award. Their leadership and commitment to being inclusive and accessible to all customers is worthy of recognition. Mondo's commitment to accessibility goes beyond the smooth, accessible entrance into their store. There are no impediments moving around their salon. They have an adapted sink which makes it more comfortable for those with back or neck problems. They have ensured that their staff is capable of assisting anyone who comes through the door. As a result, Mondo has many customers, some of whom travel from our other communities, who rely on the accessible services this salon provides. Their commitment extends outside their store. In the winter months, pedestrians can always count on Mondo to have their sidewalks cleared all the way to the curb. This takes a lot of commitment, a lot of hard work. Maria is a champion for accessible parking and sidewalk access, and has been a positive advocate to ensure pedestrians do not face barriers in the winter months. It is my sincere pleasure to present the 2018 Township of Uxbridge Business Accessibility Award to Mondo. Maria. Do you want to have the accessibility committee come up? What would you like to do? Sure, come on up. Yeah. Can we get the whole committee to come up for a picture with you? That's great. Yeah, come on up, Terry. Sure, that's great. Take a picture. Is that it? Move over there. We're crowding you up here. Move down a bit, Terry. We'll just make a little more room there. Move over a bit, Maggie. Move to your left, Maggie. Great. Just pulling you over.
Want me to go?
Yeah. Anyway, that's great. Ready for a picture? Great. Thank you, Maria. Thank you for all that you do. I've got something prepared already. Another one, Mr. Dave Dickey. Everybody knows Dave. But actually all for very, very good reasons. Dave, you're such an asset to our community. It's unbelievable, and I'll just say a few things regarding this award for Dave. Dave is the manager for the Uxbridge Fall Fair, as we know. In this role, he's assisted the Fair Board as they've implemented many accessible improvements over the years. Last year, the Fair Board received a request from a resident who wished for her husband to watch the demolition derby and participate in the car show. As he had for many years in the past, her husband was dealing with a debilitating illness that meant he now needed some additional support to participate in this community event. Dave went above and beyond to ensure this resident was able to fully participate and enjoy the fair that year. He coordinated with multiple Fair Board volunteers who worked as a team to support this resident from the minute he entered the park, both days he attended. Dave made sure that a team of volunteers smoothly assisted the resident so he could focus on enjoying the fair. It was a meaningful and poignant experience for the resident, who passed away in weeks of the event. Dave will say that his actions to support this resident were just the right thing to do, and I agree. But imagine how inclusive our society would be if everyone thought like Dave, and was willing to put the effort into making inclusiveness happen. So it's my sincere pleasure to present the 2018 Uxbridge Individual Accessibility Award to our friend Dave Dickey. Congratulations, Dave. That's awesome. Do you want to come up again for a picture, everybody? Get an award every year around here, don't you?
No, we should sit around a little bit, yeah. We should, yeah, yes, that's what I thought.
Are we ready? That would be good. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, put it over here. Thank you. You ready? We squeeze in. We can get all.
Am I in here? Thank you.
Everybody good? Great. Congratulations. Alrighty, we'll move on to delegations. And our first delegation today is Julia Jackson. This is an update on the gold medal win for Team Canada at the World Ball Hockey Tournament. Yeah, that's good. Just hit that little gray button. Great.
Okay.
Good morning, Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Jackson. I recently got back from Slovakia, representing under 20 Team Canada ball hockey. It was definitely an experience for a lifetime because representing Team Canada is so, like, I don't know, it's very special. It doesn't come around often for many people. I played, like, a bunch of teams across Europe. Unfortunately, the United States team didn't get to come because they didn't pay on time. So, we only played European teams. We played five games, 4 round robins and 1 final game. We went 5 scored on us. We had very good goalies. And lucky enough, the final game was on Canada Day, so celebration was pretty big on that night. We had 2 practices, and our first practice, funny story, we had it on Hall 2, so that's the second rink, which wasn't the big one with the Jumbotron and everything. So it wasn't live streamed for our family. The rink had obviously 2 benches, but they only had 1 door, so in order to get off the bench, you had to jump off. So for the first, like, half an hour, we were practicing jumping off the boards, and, like, Czech Republic, they came in and looking at us and probably thinking, what are they doing? Like, jumping boards, they should be shooting balls. It was really funny, just to, like, we have pictures of us jumping, and they posted it on Facebook. Yeah, it was definitely an experience of a lifetime. The views there, we stopped in Prague first for, I think it was 3 days. I can't remember. Time just was so blurry then. The views are crazy there. We went on that big bridge. There was, like, I don't know, like 1,000 people on the bridge. And then we drove 5 hours to Slovakia, showed up at the rink. We had our opening ceremonies where we got to see, like, it was like U16 boys, U18 boys, U20, and then U20 girls. This is the first time that any Team Canada under team, like, there's the women's team that goes, but any, like, under 20 team has gone to a ball hockey tournament. And in, I think it was Newfoundland, they had a front page article about how we're making, like, history. I think I have the link if anyone wants to read it. It's a cool article. Excuse me. Does anyone have any questions?
Of course, first of all, congratulations, Julia. What a great accomplishment. It must be great just to play for Canada. That, as you say, not very many people get that opportunity.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Bryan.
Julia, that's fantastic. Quick question for you. Was Claire Lyons on that team?
Yeah, she was.
Because I'm friends with her mom, Christine. She was on the OWHA board with me for years. So I was following all the way along, and I'm looking at the picture going, that looks like Julia. So congratulations. I was following along while you were there, and congratulations. I think it's incredible, and it's got to be such an honor for you to represent Canada. We're very proud of you, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councillor Beach.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're just really proud of you, proud of your team. One question. What was, I guess, the biggest highlight or moment of the games?
Definitely the final game, because, like, even though we beat Czech Republic, like, that's who we played in the finals, we beat them in their, the 2 games we played them in, but, like, they were close games, so going in, it was so nerve-wracking, and our whole team was just, like, fired up, and I think we scored in the first, like, 3 or 4 minutes, I can't remember. It was a crazy game, and we were just going up from there. It was just, the bench was just, like, fired up. It was a great game. Definitely, like, the biggest, like, highlight of the tournament there.
Well, congratulations again. Just absolutely amazing, and one of our hometown kids that have accomplished this and been there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, congratulations, Julie. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I'm sure you'll remember it forever. Looking forward to seeing you on the women's team
Yes,
coming up.
that's
So,
definitely a goal.
so don't put away your stick yet. So, did you find that the European teams intimidated when they knew they were playing Canada? Did they come in with a different kind of game face on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one team actually dropped out because they didn't want
Because
to play
yeah.
us.
So,
And that was the host,
Yeah.
Slovakia, so.
well, as you know, as a player for Canada, it's big shoes to fill, but you guys did well, and congratulations again. And we look forward to seeing you on the big team.
When
Thank
we
you.
were walking in Prague and Slovakia, like people on the street were like, Canadians! And they'd be like, yep, you get so much respect in Europe and from other
You're also
countries.
ambassadors too, so you have to keep that in mind too
Yes.
for Canada. Thank you again.
Yes, congratulations. What was the score of the final game?
It was 2-0.
2-0? Thank you.
Councillor Barton, and then Councillor Ballinger.
Julia, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, where's the gold medal?
It's at home, in a box, safe.
Gee, it would have been
Safe
safe
from us,
here.
I guess.
I also got awarded All-Star Forward of the tournament for my team, so I have like a steel plate. And I also got one of my games against Hungary, I got the player of the game, so I have like a little, like a smaller plate. It's like player of the game. So I'm gonna hopefully frame my home jersey that we won in, and then all my little achievements.
Fantastic.
And anyway, we are very proud of you. Glad you represented Uxbridge and Canada extremely well. So all the best as you continue on with your hockey career.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Councillor Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations. You did well, kid. You did well. Just a couple, knowing ice hockey well. So how many players are on the team that would be sitting on that bench? How many players would be on your
There's
bench?
18 players and 2 goalies.
And how many referees would be on the floor?
There's 2.
There's no linesmen or anything like that?
No, I'm pretty sure there's 2. Yeah.
And how long are the periods?
I think it's 3:20.
3:20-minute? Are
Yeah.
they stop periods or straight time, do you know?
Stop time.
Okay. So, over in a different country, what'd you eat?
Well, the food wasn't pleasing, but I ate what I could. When we were in Prague, it was like, do whatever you want, eat what you want. But in Slovakia, every night we'd go to the same restaurant and they'd give us different meals. So it was pretty much whatever you got, you ate, so. Or you didn't eat.
No, I was curious in that because way back, 1972, when Canada's hockey team went over there, I know what they were fed. So, and I know when they went over in later years, they took their own food. So I was just curious what you had. And again, congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. I did go to the grocery store to buy some, like, bananas and apples and protein shakes, because the breakfast at the hotel, their eggs were, like, gray. So, I...
Julie, I'm going to just present a certificate to you up front here just in a moment. We'll get a picture taken. And I just want to say on behalf of members of council and staff as well here in the township, and of course the residents, we just want to express our sincere congratulations for this amazing ball hockey season this year and your participation in the 2018 World Championships. It must take a tremendous amount of commitment. Where do you play hockey? Do you play ice hockey too? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I play ice hockey in Toronto.
Oh, okay. It takes so much dedication to play 2 sports at that level is pretty incredible. So we just wish you all the best in the future. I'm just going to present you with a little certificate out front. And Troy, you want to get in the picture too? No. You let her do? All right. Anybody else want to get in the picture? How about if all council gets in the picture? Great. We'll all get down and have a picture. Turn me off. Once again, Julie, congratulations. Fantastic. Anyway, congratulations, Julia, and Troy, congratulations to you as well. What a great, you must be so proud. Alrighty, our next delegation is Sean Bethel. Did I pronounce that right, Sean? Yep. Good, great. This is regarding 2169 Concession 2.
Okay. I'd like to thank the Mayor and Council for allowing me to present today. So this is my first time going through something like this, so bear with me. My wife and I bought a property on Concession 2 on the May long weekend. It's just north of Webb Road. We don't get possession until November 30th, but I just wanted to get the process started. So the purpose of the presentation today is to get permission from Council to live in the existing dwelling while we build a new home, which we're in the process of getting designed and going through the all the paperwork and permitting and so forth. So once the house is completed, the new house, we're going to either knock down the old house or kind of repurpose it to I think the term is an accessory storage dwelling. And I think that's what I need to get permission from Council. So here's where we are sort of in the plans. Today, July 16th, I've had John Larkin out to look at the septic to let me know where the existing septic, if that can be used during construction of the new dwelling, or if we'll need to move it. Looks like we'll need to move it. Met with a couple of architects. It's on the TRCA jurisdiction, so I have to go through that process to get approval. And then we're going to, we get possession at the end of November, as I said, and we'll spend the winter thinking and planning, and hopefully the spring will come early and we'll be starting construction. So my purpose today is really to present my case and find out what needs to be done. I talked to Catalina to start this process about a month or 6 weeks ago, and so here's the address and the lot information, well, septic, current owners, Tom Eddy and Candace McGuire, who I've not met yet. And so this is the property, and please just jump in with questions if you need to. So it's 2.2 2/3 acres, north at the top. There's a little barn here.
Can you try to keep speaking into the mic? We're videotaping, and if you don't talk in the mic,
Okay.
no one can hear it. So there's a pointer on that, though.
I got it.
Great.
So there's a little barn there. The driveway comes in off of Concession 2, and so this is all kind of a pine forest. There's the house that's in question that we want to live in. The existing septic bed is back about here, and on the next page, you can see where we want to put the house a little further back, a little further away from the road. Probably we'll have a pool, and so there's the existing house, and obviously the new house is going to be right on the septic bed, and there's a tank right here. So the septic person told us that we could most likely put in the new septic bed and tie into that while we're using the house and start construction, and then whether we demolish or repurpose the existing house, the new septic bed will be useful for either the both dwellings or just the new one, which is most likely. Any questions?
Any questions, anyone? Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, Sean. Did you say you don't own the property now, but you will be, or?
Possession is November 30th.
So is your offer to purchase contingent upon getting this?
No, we have no conditions on
There's
the
no conditions?
purchase.
Okay. I'm just a little curious on the new house and the situation again. Could you point out where the septic bed is on that graphic?
We have,
Existing?
I'll flick ahead to a couple slides. and,
Okay, yeah.
So this here is the house,
Right,
the barn.
yeah,
There's the septic bed. So that says 151 feet back from the road.
okay.
The lot is about 345 feet. So you can see that it's pretty much going to be on the bed.
Okay.
And the septic person told us that we could probably put a septic bed back here clearing some trees, or just behind the existing house. It needs to be 100 feet from the existing well, which is right there, and
Okay.
I marked it out. Will
So have
easily fit.
Have you had preliminary conversations with Durham Region Health on this, or is it
No,
just...
not yet.
You might want to give them a call, just to...
Yeah,
Because you can't have a driveway, as you know, probably know, over a septic bed.
right,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
so again, it's situating it on the property. I think that's your issue.
yeah,
The other one is, too, we allow temporary use of two dwellings. The issue that could pop up down the road is the existing house that you're in now has to either be decommissioned, which means you have to take all the plumbing out of it, all that
Yep.
kind of stuff, so it can't be habitated. So that's something you probably want to consider, too, in your overall budget.
Budget, yes.
If I can call it that. Because we don't have two dwellings, as you probably know, on the same piece of property.
Yeah. I was under the impression, though, that you could have, if it was less than a certain square footage, it could be,
It could be
have
an accessory
storage.
apartment. Yeah, we haven't completely finished that yet,
Yeah.
but we are in the process of it. So maybe staff, you want to speak to that, Ingrid?
Go ahead, Ingrid.
Yeah. At this point in time, what happens is when you're building a house and you have another house on the property, we would ask you to demolish it. We're looking at a process now on being able to retrofit a house and turning it into an accessory building and allow you to have the 1,000, up to the 1,000 square foot apartment in it. But that's also going to require rezoning to recognize that use. So we're working through the process on, you know, because the problem right now is you can't have two dwelling units on a property. So we have to find a way to be able to make a house into an accessory building. So it's not going to look like a house anymore, and it's going to function differently than a house. That's something we're in discussions at this point, and hopefully we'll have something by the time you're ready to do your thing.
Okay. From a timing standpoint and kind of the order of operations here, do I get permission to use the existing dwelling as a place to live in?
We can do that today.
Okay. And, okay, great.
What will happen is you'll enter into a demolition, at this point, you'll enter into a demolition agreement, and and live in that house while you're building the other one. The other issues we'll have to deal with, I don't think will even be resolved by November, quite frankly. There's not enough, unfortunately, this year, there's not enough meetings left in the year, so I don't know if we'll
that's
make
fine.
it. So, but at this point in time, yes, with an agreement with the township, there'll be a demolition agreement, and you'll be able to live in the house while you build the new one, and then we'll deal with the other,
Okay.
okay?
And I understand I need to put forward a bond, I think?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can deal with staff on that, and they'll...
Okay.
Okay. Gary?
Yeah, Sean, this property backs onto our property,
Oh,
so it looks like we're gonna
are
be...
you on Webb Road?
On Webb
Okay.
Road, yeah. Yeah, we have 43 acres.
Yeah, I know, I've seen that,
So
that's
we're gonna be neighbors.
great.
Any other questions? No? Great, Sean. So deal with staff on the agreement and get it rolling.
Great.
Great, thanks
a
for
lot.
coming in.
Appreciate it, thank you.
I need a motion to support, Councillor Bryan, Councillor Barton. Is that good enough? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Great, Sean, so you're okay? Yeah, I told him that, so he'll deal with staff. Alrighty, Mr. David Sudd, regarding Evandale Developments. And can you give us your name again, please, sir?
Good morning, Your Worship, members of council, staff, and the public. My name is Bryce Jordan. I'm Mr. Sudd's planner. I work with a firm called GHD, and of course with me is David Sudd. We've got a fairly high-tech proposal in that we've had the colored drawing mounted, and hopefully I can point and look and you can see it as well from where you are. As we understand it, council was looking for a presentation with regard to the site plan that's been recommended to you, both in the staff report from earlier in the month, as well as the addendum report, which has the zoning attached to it. Essentially, I just wanted to point out the changes from the public meeting when we went into this plan in quite a bit of depth. And the changes occurred on the site plan for the townhouse development, which is basically east of Harima and north of Brock Street, exclusive of the small mixed-use development at the corner. So in this area, over to the open space block, which is the realigned channel that is ready to receive water as soon as the piping under Brock Street sends it there. And that block, I think I've mentioned before, will be dedicated to the municipality as an open space block. Between Harima and the open space block, the changes that took place between the draft plan or the concept plan that was presented. Oh, I might be done by the time that's set up, but you're probably good at it. You're much more efficient with one of those than I am. That's great. Thank you. That would typically take me forever to get that set up. Anyway, the changes essentially that have occurred is the units along the north end of the site have been converted from, and I know I mentioned this at the public meeting, they're quite wide townhouses to begin with. They're 7 meters wide, when in many cases townhouses are being built today at 5.5 meters. But in any event, those 2-story 7-meter units have been replaced with 10.8 meter single-story with loft or bungalows with loft townhouses, each of them with a 2-car garage. The result in terms of the units is an overall reduction because of those wider units replacing the narrower units of 6 units from 94 to 88. The other change that was made is identifying an area for a small parkette playground where it would be adjacent to the to that large municipal open space block. So with those changes, surprisingly, we're able to accommodate the fairly extensive parking requirements that have been applied to townhouses in Uxbridge. In other words, 2-car parking outside of the garage on the driveways per unit, and 1 space for every 2 units for visitor parking, or 50% visitor parking. And what's even more surprising is you were able to do that, provide the asphalt that's needed, and still have 40% green landscaped open space just within the site plan itself, not talking about the public open space block or anything else of that nature, just the land that's on the site. And frankly, that results in when you look at a townhouse development, what I would consider to be a relatively low density for the number of units per hectare as a result. So those are the changes that occurred, and I think if there's any questions that Council has, Mr. Sudd and I will try to answer them.
Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, during the public meeting, Bryce, there was consideration from committee about creating fully accessible units. Have you considered that in your plans?
I'd had some conversation with Councillor Barton, and what we can do is, as an option, in the bungalow units, the 2-car garages. So in the garage itself, I can propose an option to the purchaser if they require an accessibility unit, that I could build a ramp inside the garage, which would
so your elevations would accommodate that then? Elevations
will accommodate that, yes.
Okay, excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's your question also,
Right. Okay, any other questions? All right, all's in favor, what are we gonna do with this? What are the numbers then? So we need a motion to bring forward, 2 reports, DS 38 and DS 42. Would somebody like to make that motion? Councillor Beach, seconded by Councillor Hyatt. All's in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Let's deal with 38 first. Do we have any questions of DS 38? Somebody like to move that recommendation, please? Councillor Beach? Oh, sorry, aren't we doing this one? Or is that oh, that's the old one. What are we gonna do with those, Liz? Do you know what we're gonna do? That's the June 25th one is 38. so we'll have to lift from the table. And what was the other one? What's the date on the other one? It was, oh, that's the, okay.
So 38 is recommending approval of the application, directing that the implementing zoning bylaw be prepared and brought forward to council for adoption, recommending to the Region of Durham the conditions of draft plan approval with respect to the plan of condominium plan of subdivision. The next, the addendum report.
Can we just do, let's deal with
Okay,
38 and
okay.
lift that from the table. Would somebody like to make it? Councillor Barton? Councillor Beach, second to that. Move to lift from the table. All's in favor? Carried.
So the
Do you
addendum.
want to deal with 38 now, or can we deal with 38 now, Liz? Or do we need to deal with 42?
Well, I think you may want to hear what 42
Okay,
is,
okay.
because it builds on it, and it basically, recommends that you approve, that should you approve the application, that, the implementing zoning amendment, which is attached to this report, be adopted.
So which one should we move first? Should we move 38 now?
Well,
Is that
yeah,
what you'd like-
you do that first. for
We'll do
sure.
38 and then we'll go on to 42. Okay. Okay, so we have report, DS 3818, Liz Housen. Would somebody like to move that recommendation? Moved by Councillor Barton, seconded by Councillor Bryan. Are there any other questions? All's in favor? Carried. Okay, now we'll go on to 42, which is the new, report. What would council like to do with that one? Somebody like to move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Barton, seconded by Councillor Bryan. Are there any questions of the report? All's in favor? Carried. Can I ask all in favor again? I didn't see a lot of hands over here. Go. All in favor? Carried. All right, David, we're done. Great. Thank you. All righty, we'll move on to correspondence.
You have to do
Oh, the approval of minutes, I'm sorry. First, we'll do the, approval of minutes of June 25th, moved by Councillor Beach, second by Councillor Barton. All's in favor? Carried. All righty, correspondence. Madam Clerk.
Correspondence item 102, Central Lake Conservation Authority, re-updating Cloca watershed plans.
Motion received by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Barton. All's in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 103, Kevin Finnerty, Assistant Deputy Minister, Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport, recancellation of cap and trade.
Councillor Barton, you're moving that recommendation, or are you going to speak to it?
Well, I don't think, well, I'll speak to it first, but
Okay.
just so everyone's aware, this cap and trade program contained the commuter cycling grant, so our opportunity to receive any funding on that is obviously over.
Okay. Somebody, what would you like to do with this correspondence?
Just to receive.
To receive by Councillor Barton, seconded by Councillor Beach. All's in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 104, Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, re-municipal toolkit launch.
I think we've seen this before. What would you like to do with this, Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, I'll receive it, just for committee's information. There is a terminal at the clerk's desk. If anybody's been by there, you can look up your voter list. So if you haven't had an opportunity to do so, you can do it right here. So no need to go home and try it there. You can have it right here.
Did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a quick comment.
Sure.
It is incredibly user-friendly.
Yeah.
I made sure my niece and nephew were on the voters list. I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm motivated to do that, but,
Yeah.
I was really impressed with how user-friendly it was.
Great. All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 105, Region of Durham to the Honourable J. Wilson Raybould, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, and Honourable, Nak
Go ahead.
Attorney
Nagby.
General of Ontario, upholding maximum sentences for firearm offences under the Criminal Code.
Councillor Ballinger.
I'm going to give you a motion to support. This was brought forward by two mayors in Durham Region, John Henry of Oshawa and Dave Ryan of Pickering, and it was supported by Regional Council, and I feel that our council here should be supporting this.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Barton. Any other comments? All's in favor of the motion to support? Carried.
Correspondence item 106, Sean Wall, Bell Canada, re-upgrades to Bell Network Technology in the hamlet of Zephyr.
I'll speak to this briefly. It's ridiculous, quite frankly. I don't know why we waste our time with Bell and Rogers, some of the large, really don't do anything for our smaller communities. If the population isn't there, they may as well not be. Anyway, sorry, what would you like to do? Would someone like to receive this?
I would like to speak to it as well.
Go ahead. Put your mic on, please.
Okay, there we go. So, now, this letter also doesn't actually speak to the issue that we're experiencing. So we're getting cellular internet speeds that are advertised as 25 to 220 megabits per second. And in Zephyr, the speed tests that I've done have been as low as 0.3 megabits per second.
I'm on that.
What's that?
I'm on that.
Right. So like it's incredibly slow. They're advertising something that they're not delivering.
Absolutely.
And the letter was supposed to encourage them not to put fiber internet in, which would cost millions of dollars. It was to upgrade their cellular tower to be usable in the hamlet of Zephyr and everywhere else.
Absolutely.
And even Sanford, when you do a speed test in Sanford, it's 20 megabits per second. It's fantastic. Zephyr is a whole
not enough
different
people
deal.
on it. It went in later. Not enough people on it. So.
Right. So anyway, this needs to be fixed, and I think we need to my motion would be that we resend a letter or invite them in to come and talk to us here to get this thing fixed.
So what's your motion?
So my motion is bring them in here to talk to me.
If they'll come in, okay.
If they'll come in.
Moved by Councillor Barton. Councillor Hyatt. Can I have a seconder first for that, please? Councillor Ballinger. Go ahead, Councillor
Just a question. We've had several telecoms come through here in the last probably 2 years with ideas to apply for that grant for spine. Did we ever hear back on any of those applicants?
None of the ones we supported have received any funding.
None of the ones there?
I don't
Do
think
we
there's
know
any funding in Durham Region.
Do we know if the
My
funding
knowledge.
has been awarded, or are we still waiting?
My understanding is there's some has been awarded in Quebec. There have been a few locations, but very, very few. It's a drop in the bucket anyway, the
Because
amount of
this
money in
may
the whole country.
push this through the door if Bell's waiting for that infrastructure to be in place.
This is cell tower, though.
It's
This is a cell
but
tower.
It's
not the
along
same
the same
Well,
lines
yeah,
as
not quite.
high-speed internet, though, so.
Okay.
Oh, and just like a comment on this, this isn't a huge infrastructure
No.
addition. This is them upgrading a cellular tower that already exists. There's obviously range there. It's just that they need to increase the capacity. This is not a huge infrastructure project. It needs to be supported. It needs to happen. We need to push.
Okay, so we have a motion duly seconded. Any other questions? All's in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 107, Business Improvement Area, request to close Brock Street West between Toronto Street North and Main Street North on September 15th, 2018, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. along with additional logistical requests.
Sorry, Ingrid, what were you saying to me there? You think this is worded wrong? Is it okay? That's correct. Okay, so what would you like to do with this? Councillor Barton? You gonna mo-
Motion to support? I love
Support.
this idea.
Question, what?
Can I have a seconder first? Somebody second that, please?
I'll support
Councillor
it.
Bryan?
Okay. Just what regional input would we need for the first request here? Closure of Brock Street. I know Ben's not here. I don't see him.
They'll obviously have to deal with staff, so.
Okay, thank you.
Right, Elaine? You gotta deal with Ben or somebody anyway on it, okay. Go ahead, Ingrid.
As long as everybody understands there are costs in closing it, because the region has a protocol that needs to be used. If we're closing Lower Brock Street, there's signage and different things that need to be put out in order to do the closure.
One of the concerns I had was that you requested also, I think, the fire hall. I mean, we're getting rid of a lot of parking. I don't know, where are people gonna park? It's a big concern. I mean, I understand you need an area to do the corn roast and everything in, but if we allow the parking lot of the fire hall to be used and that parking lot, it's nice you're having a corn roast, but I don't know people, how they're gonna get here. That's a concern. So we'll have to deal with staff. I don't know if the request was also in that letter to use the fire hall as well. Was that a request in the letter? No. I was the parking lot. But there was a request to use the parking lot at the same time. So can we direct it maybe to staff, someone make a motion, direct it to staff and sort that out? Sorry, to support? We can support it, but still direct it to staff, right? Can't we do that and just clear up the
Friendly
parking
amendment?
issue? Okay,
Yeah, I'll take that as a friendly
Great.
amendment, and
great.
now we support it because there won't be another meeting for them to organize, so.
Yeah, no, that's fine,
Yeah.
okay. But parking is a bit of an issue if you close them all down, Okay, all's in favor? Oh, sorry, Councilor Bryan, go
And
ahead.
just so we're all cognizant, that's also, Celebration of the Arts Weekend, so there will be some cars going around, so we may get some,
Yeah,
traffic issues, but just so we're all aware of that.
okay. And we've already voted, thank you. Debbie, go ahead, 108.
Correspondence item 108, June Davies, through professional development and training for public servants.
Anybody interested in doing this? It's not a bad idea, I mean, it's, all right, what would you like to do then? Someone want to support this, or want to just receive it? Councilor Hyatt.
I think the letter refers to the next council getting this training, which I think is a great idea. That might be, I don't know whether we can make a decision for that next
Wow.
council, but I would certainly refer it to them for their
Okay.
input.
Alrighty? We're just referring to next council, yeah.
I'll second
Is
that.
there budget
Seconded by
implications?
Councilor
It doesn't
Bryan.
really talk about
No, it
costs
doesn't,
in
there's a
here,
lot of things to,
so maybe that refer that to the 2019 budget as well.
okay, all in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 109, Bev Northeast, through rental housing in the Township of Uxbridge.
I think when I went online, there's 20 in town, online. I don't know how many there are, but there's 20 online.
So, yeah, and I,
Airbnbs, yeah.
yeah, no, so I read the letter, and there was a bunch of things that jumped out that didn't seem to be true, so I looked it up. And there's 20, but that includes 3 that are all owned by a friend of mine in Scugog. Like, there's a bunch in Stouffville, there's some in Sunderland. So the ones that I was positive were in Uxbridge was 7. 3 of those appeared to be places that might be seasonal residences that people probably don't live in full time. There was some that are just a spare bedroom in someone's house that they're renting out.
Yeah, mhm.
And I didn't see any typical apartments that are being rented out on Airbnb in Uxbridge. So I think that part of it isn't happening. We certainly need to defend against it because there's a huge shortage of long-term housing options in Uxbridge. And then from the tourism point of view, again, I have friends that do this, and they're just on the Scugog side of the border, but typically the majority of their customers come to their place in Scugog, eat in restaurants in Uxbridge, they come from Toronto, and they take advantage of our hiking, biking, skiing, spend a bunch of money in our restaurants, and then go home. So I just don't see what you're talking about. And then going back into what the City of Toronto's done, according to what was written in the letter, it's a $5,000 fee for every Airbnb person to have an Airbnb in the City of Toronto. That's not true. It's Airbnb pay $5,000, or HomeAway or any of those organizations to operate in the city, and it's a $50 per year permit for each house.
Right.
So it's, again,
Anyway, just make a motion to receive it, that's all we have to do
okay,
then.
fair enough. I just wanted to speak to it because it's pretty
Councilor Hyatt?
blatantly wrong.
Yeah, notwithstanding this letter, I think there's a huge difference between a short-term Airbnb rental and long-term rental affordable housing. So they're 2 different animals here. The township has been very proactive. We've created the accessory dwelling, as we know. We're fine-tuning it, but we're at least heading down the right direction, and I think that's the solution for Uxbridge. We certainly don't have lands available to be building high-rise rental apartments. If we did, I'm not sure what developers we could attract for that, but it's not to say that it's off the table. It's just that we don't have immediate lands available. So what we're looking at for rental housing here is the accessible affordable units, in accessory buildings. The Airbnb you've mentioned, I wasn't sure that there was 20 even available. If there are...
It's just if you Google it, it comes up with 20,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I know they're not all here, I understand.
If there are, I'm not sure we want to delve into a whole regulation thing over Airbnb over 20 units. If that's something council wants to consider, I would look at it, but I don't think we have the staff time or the ability to even remotely consider policing something like that. It's just too... I mean, the City of Toronto has a whole staff probably sitting in a room waiting for this to happen. We don't have that. So I think they're 2 different animals, Airbnb and rental accommodation, so...
And I think one of the issues Toronto had was, as I recall, the number was, I think there were 60,000 apartments in Toronto that were unoccupied. It was an incredible number that are just there for speculation, right? But, okay, so we have a motion to receive from Councillor Barton. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Beach? All in favor? Go ahead.
So, you know, tourism is something that we need to take advantage of in Uxbridge. I don't think we're gonna get a hotel or a motel anytime soon. So I think we wanna encourage our residents to move forward with this type of model, either typical B&B or an Airbnb, to increase the ability to have tourism, active tourism in Uxbridge. So, without sacrificing our long-term rental accommodations. So, there's gotta be ways that we continue to do this. There's been talk of yurts and things like that in some rural properties, you know, little cabins that are not suitable for long-term accommodation. And I think we should just keep on looking for best practices in neighboring municipalities to find the best solution to this. That was my last comment. Thanks,
All right.
Mr. Mayor.
All's in favor?
Further
Go ahead,
comment,
Gord.
Airbnb is B&B. That's just taken on a short-term basis, right? You don't have a fully dedicated B&B in your house, you have a part-time one, if you will. And when we had a planner on staff here 6 or more years
A
ago,
while ago.
we were working on a new B&B bylaw. So I think that's something maybe the new council again could look at, because I know we don't have any accommodation, and you're absolutely right, Councillor Barton, we're not getting a Holiday Inn here anytime soon, so what are the options? And I think B&Bs or Airbnbs could be a viable solution.
We don't even have any rental accommodations here. There's nothing in this town.
Well, rentals are
Try
different.
to find
kettle
one
of
in
fish.
Uxbridge.
It's
Anyway.
more short-term rentals we don't have.
Understood. All's in favor? Carried.
Okay, and, Mr. Mayor, shall we do an extra motion on Gord's point on, having the next council to put that on their agenda to look at short-term tourist-style accommodations?
Well,
I don't think we wanna tell the
It is in
next-
the books, I don't know if staff.
It's already
may
there.
have
I don't
more
think we wanna tell the
information,
next
but
council what to do. I think we'll leave it up to them.
Okay, fair enough.
There is one hanging somewhere in the
There
planning
was.
department, so.
It may be long gone. Okay.
Correspondence item 110, Stephen Jennis, request for community garden and lookout tower in the township of Uxbridge.
It's right behind your house, Gord.
I love the idea of the garden. I think that's a great idea. It's similar to the grains that they grow. I can't think of the name of the program, where they raise them for charity. Yeah. You have the name of that? Anyway, it's along those lines. I think that's supposed to be a great idea, especially if the food was going to the food bank, for instance. The tower,
Not so much.
I'm not sure what that would look like. Again, I would like to see some ideas on that. Whether you want to pop one up at the top of the hill at the museum. We all know, those of us that were on council at the time, of adding a cell tower up there, which was quite a mess. So I'm not quite sure you want to be adding a lookout tower at that location, so. But I think the garden idea is a wonderful one.
What would you like to do with this, correspondence?
Well,
Councillor Barton, or? Go ahead, Jack, you
Sure.
wanna do something?
My idea would be why don't we send this to our Uxbridge Horticultural Society and see if they're interested in doing a garden?
Okay. Councillor Ballinger?
took the words out of my
Okay.
mouth. I think both ideas are good. It's just how you work it out. I think they're great ideas. I mean, gosh, if you go up there on Canada Day at nighttime, that whole museum is filled with cars. Everybody's watching the fireworks from there. If the selection where they got the horseshoe pits now, you overlook the whole town of Uxbridge.
Yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
mean, these are good ideas. So let's kind of take a look at it.
So we have a motion to refer to the Horticultural Society? I think you mean horticultural. Do you mean, actually, if you're gonna do one, you should do both, horticultural and historical,
Oh, okay,
just so they're aware, that's
okay,
all.
no,
So
I
motion by,
suppose it-
motion by
friendly amendment.
Councillor Barton and seconded by Councillor Ballinger. Any other questions? All's in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 111, Eric Pay, concerns regarding road and traffic issues in the township of Uxbridge.
What would you like to do, council? Councillor Bryan, receive for information, seconded by Councillor Ballinger. All's in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 112, Dave Dickey, Fair Manager, Uxbridge Fair Board, request for 2018 Fall Fair in Elgin Park on September 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Somebody like to make a motion to support this? Councillor Beach, seconded by Councillor Rona. Any questions? All's in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 113, Jim and Pat Crosland, proposed zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision applications, part 123, T03. of Plan 40R19432, Part Lot 16, Concession 4, Hamlet of Sanford, Harry Chung subdivision.
I just, if you don't mind me saying on this one, because I'm involved in this, it looks like Jim's already passed all this information off to the planner, Randy, and I guess he's dealing directly with the planner. I don't know if there's much we can do with this, but receive it. Motion by Councillor Hyde to receive it, second by Councillor Beach. Question?
Just a comment. This is one of the things I love about the residents of Uxbridge. Instead of staying in the way of it, it's looking for a common sense solution. Yeah, make sure there's a gate so I can cut the grass. Like, I just love the openness in a community like Sanford. That's it.
So could we have also in that motion to refer to our planner, I guess? Councillor Hyde's friendly amendment?
Yeah, I'll make that amendment.
And the applicant. Great. All in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 114 through to 117, proposed zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 2018-08, 231 to 249 Reach Street, Venetian Group.
Questions? Councillor Bryan.
Just receive for information.
Receive for information. Refer to the planner and the applicant. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hyatt. All's in favor? Carried. Councillor Ballinger, go ahead.
You know, in all the letters that we get from the people, and in the public meetings we've had, the discussion is around the buffer area, that significant forest that's along the line.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, when that first came in, it was deemed a significant forest because Fabio would have bought that land. And he was told at the time that you couldn't build in there. The only thing I see what the residents are saying, I saw the pictures of the trees, I've been back there and looked at the trees, that's where the problem area lies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something they should be looking into it. I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think it is cutting them down.
I think they've got a large area there where they're keeping a lot of those trees. Councillor Bryan will know better. Go ahead.
Very good comments, Councillor Ballinger. One of the things they're looking at, the developer is coming back with a scoped arborist plan. He's going to come back with that, have those specific trees looked at. They've made some adjustments in their plan, and that will all come back. So certainly they have heard what the residents had to say, and they certainly echo what you say. So I think we're all on the right page. We're all looking at the same thing the same way, but I think the scoped arborist plan will certainly help us out with that.
Councillor Barton, question?
Just a comment as well. I've spoken to a bunch of those residents there, and the majority would support this plan with that 35-foot buffer there, which just allows the really large old growth section, and then there's a driveway or a trail that runs just to the south of that. And with that change, they would support it. It just allows that the trees that are in their backyards, in terms of the shade and the branches go right over, that they wouldn't be cut down.
And I think that's what the developer's going to come back with.
Okay, good, thanks.
Do we have a motion on this?
Yeah, moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Hyatt to refer to the planner and the applicant.
Great. All those in favor? Carried.
Correspondence item 118, Steve Denoden, request to temporarily place a mobile camping trailer at 9510 Durham Road 1 while existing home is being repaired.
I think this is sort of an emergency measure. We've all heard of this. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Bryan, Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Sorry. To support, yeah. Sorry, I had support written here. I just didn't say it. To support. All those in favor? Councillor Beach. Carried.
119, Helen McKenna, concerns regarding drop-off near the Trestle Bridge.
I think they're talking about that little hill that goes down to where the Parks is, right? Is that what they're talking about? Go ahead, Councillor Ballinger. You got a comment?
Well, the comment I have, and I haven't been over there, but I wondered if Amanda's been there, or Bob's been there. What did
Bob,
they would like to make a comment on it. I'd like to hear from staff.
Come on up, Bob.
So I went out to the location after we received the letter to have a look, and at each end of the trestle bridge we have a concrete retaining wall that is built there. What's happened is, and it's all intact, there's no runoff coming from there, so everything's fine there. I think what our concern is the kids are kind of making a little pathway back from the retaining wall to get access down underneath the bridge to get into the creek. And it is quite steep to go down in that area, but that's just a regular grade of the train tracks in that area.
We've had people going down there forever, and we could fence it off, and I think they'll
Wouldn't
find another way to get down there, because there's things that are going on underneath the bridge, that are not going on at the top of the bridge, so.
Yeah, everything's intact from the work that we've done there. There's nothing washing away or anything like that.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, we had that trail cleanup there this spring, and we spent a lot of time cleaning up around that bridge. I agree with Ingrid. If we put up another fence, they'd go to an even more dangerous location to go around it. So, I'm a big fan of safety, but I think that would make us less safe, not more.
So can we have a motion just to receive this?
I'll give you that motion.
Motion by Councillor Ballinger, second by Councillor Bryan. All's in favor? Oh, do you have a question, Councillor Hyatt? Go ahead.
Bob, could we put up some kind of signage there? I know a fence is kind of defeating the purpose, like a
Do
warning
people read
sign
signs?
saying steep grade or something, I don't know.
Maybe the suggestion would be that we get in touch with the insurance pool. They're happy to come
See what
out,
they-
and maybe they can take a look at it. Some signage that could be put up, because I think they
Maybe-
would agree too
Maybe
that if we fence
conservation
it,
has when
they'll
we put
climb
up, this
over
is
it
a
or around
dedicated
it.
conservation area, keep out, or I don't know, something like that. That might work.
Well, you can try. I'm sure the insurance company will come back and tell us to build a wall, but anyway. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So what have we done with this? We had a motion duly moved and seconded? All's in favor? Carried. Resolutions. This is one of the, on the addendum? Oh, bring that forward and then we'll deal with, okay. Alrighty, there's report CL 4518 of Debbie LaRue. This is regarding the Goodwood Walkway. And would somebody make a motion, please, to bring that forward? Councillor Barton, second by Councillor Bryan. All's in favor? Carried. We have a resolution regarding this. I guess first we'll move the report. Would somebody like to move the recommendation in the report? Councillor Bryan, second by Councillor Beach. All's in favor? Carried. The resolution. Who's got it? You have it? Great. Go ahead, Pam.
Okay, resolution, 2018-11, moved by, is he supposed to do it?
Before the, I read it? Oh, let me, give it to me. Great, thank
No,
you.
there's nothing to say.
This is moved by Councillor Beach, second by Councillor Hyatt, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Uxbridge deems it desirable to declare surplus and convey real property legally described as Block 19, Plan 40M-2371, Township of Uxbridge, Regional Municipality of Durham. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Uxbridge hereby declares the following, that the property legally described as Block 19, Plan 40M-2371, Township of Uxbridge, Regional Municipality of Durham, surplus to the needs of the municipality. 2, and that public notice be placed in local newspapers once a week for 2 consecutive weeks advising that the lands are being declared surplus and the township's intention to convey said lands. Township File L06PS99. All's in favor? Carried. There's a little more correspondence there. Nothing on the addendum? Okay, now you jump. Oh. Oh, it should be 39? Okay. If this is, on the addendum, this is report oh. Where is this? Oh, right here. Oh, it's right here. Oh, okay, it's just not right there. Okay, great. All right, this is report DS 3918, Liz Housen. This is regarding the Uxbridge Source Protection Plan, Official Plan Amendment number 58, and this is with the region of Durham. Really, all it's doing is bringing our policies into comply with really the regions. Seconded by Councillor Bryan. Any questions? All's in favor? Carried. This is report DS 4118, Amelia. This is regarding relief of minimum rear yard depth. Park Block 17. Comments? Questions? Councillor Hyatt.
I'll just move the recommendation.
Move the recommendation. This is for 32 Bud to Set Court, seconded by Councillor Bryan. All those in favor? Carried. This is PWO 4818 of Ben Kester, Director of Public Works. This is regarding a salt management plan. I have one quick question. Who is WSP, Ben? Is that the same company that did the, I know it might not be, the EA on the culvert? Not the same company, right? Okay. You know where I'm going with that one, anyway. It's interesting, if you don't mind making a quick comment on this one, is that at Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority, it was interesting when they talk about salt. I believe it's in Aurora, that their large mall in Aurora uses as much salt as the entire township uses. One mall uses that much salt. That's how much they're putting down. And it's all risk management, but that's the kind of situation we're dealing with here. What would you like to do with this report? Councillor Bryan? Move the recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Barton? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Report PWO 4918, Ben Kester. This is regarding the propane prices. Ben, can you explain this a bit? Because it's a little bit strange the way it reads. We had this conversation on Friday, I think. It says that it's going up.
Our price will be going up 20%.
But that's because we're adding on. Aren't we adding on 2 facilities?
No, that's just the price per liter.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, what would you like to do with this? Councillor Hyatt?
Just a question through you to Ben. Do we source this out every time it comes up, or do we use the same?
It's Durham Region Cooperative Tendering.
It's the cooperative tender? Okay, thank you.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, just a question. With cap and trade, is that gonna make this situation better, or is this already taking into account that change?
No, this was on the agenda before that, so I'm not sure what effect that'll have.
Okay.
Okay, what would you like to do with this? Somebody like to move the recommendation? Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Rona. All those in favor? Carried. PWO 5018, Ben Kester. This is regarding turnaround the dead end of Colby Road. Comments or questions? Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, my understanding of this, and Councillor Barton can certainly jump in, is the bus was already going down that road, and then they decided they weren't going down that road. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So you said their policy says that they would not go down it, so why were they in? Did this policy just come into effect? What happened there?
I'm not sure. I don't think they are.
We're so surprised. So the reality is whether you do a turnaround or not, doesn't matter, they're not going down the road.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
So even if you had one at the end, they wouldn't be going
Wouldn't
down
matter.
it? Is that what
No.
you're saying from this?
No, they told me that.
That makes
Okay, what
no
would you
sense to me whatsoever. But
What would you like to do with this? Somebody want to move the recommendation? Councillor Hyatt, seconded by? Councillor
I'll
Ballinger?
second that.
All those in favor? Carried. This is report PWO 5118, Ben Kester. This is the age-old argument about yield signs and all those sorts of things. Councillor Bryan.
I'll move that recommendation that we have a consultant take a look at it. I think it's, when you start to talk about removing stop signs and things like that, we really need to be cognizant of the safety factor. So I've moved that recommendation, a consultant looks at it.
Councillor Barton, you have a question?
Yeah, just a comment, actually. When you go around to some of our residential neighborhoods, the people want us to add stop signs. There's a small group of people in the municipality that want us to take them away. Like, we get significantly more calls to add stop signs for safety reasons. And really, there's 5 people in the municipality that are asking us to take them away. Am I correct?
I think it's more than that, but.
Is it?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's.
Okay. So, somebody move the recommendation? Can I have a seconder, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Refer it to budgets next year.
Yeah, it's being referred to 2019, that's all. Councillor Ballinger seconded. All's in favor? Carried. This is report PWO 5318. This is the addition to the Goodwood Hall. Councillor Beach?
Ben, just a question now. We've decided to do a separate building. Okay, no problem. Where is the link, the door going to go in the hall across to this new building, where is it gonna be placed?
On the north side, right
Yeah.
across from the door that goes into the building, the new building. So they'll be right across from each other.
Coming out of the boardroom, right?
Is it coming out
No,
of the,
it'll be coming out
out
of
of
the
the main
hall.
hall?
Further down?
Yeah, the main hall.
The main hall?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and is it going to be lengthwise with the hall, or taking out some trees?
No, there'll be no trees taken out.
Okay, so, and how much a buffer between the two buildings?
6 or 8 feet.
6 or 8 feet? Okay, no, just if I'm asked, then I can
Mm-hmm.
respond. And will there be a covered walkway between the two buildings?
No.
Okay.
Do you want to move that recommendation, Councillor Beach? Can I have
Yes,
a
I would.
seconder, please? You seconding this?
The Goodwood Hall now?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll look at that too.
Just instead of baseboard electric,
Yep.
if we did one of those little gas heaters that go through the wall, might be way more.
Can I have a seconder, please? You moved it already, Pam.
Yeah,
Councillor Barton?
he did.
Any other questions? Councillor Hyatt, question?
When you say prefab, Ben, what are we talking about here? Metal roof and sides?
Metal roof and sides, wood frame.
Wood frame construction?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Great, all's in favor? Can we do that again? All's in favor? Carried. Thank you. Sorry, this is, the next one is, report 5418 regarding the Cintas contract. This is the one where you've added a few other facilities too, Ben. What would you like to do with this? Councillor Bryan.
Quick question for you, Ben. So they're wanting the new increase to start today, as opposed to the end of the contract?
Correct.
And it's gonna go up 2.5% for the next 5 years? So 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, right? For 5? So how did you arrive at the 11,758?
That's what my consultant calculated.
Okay. So so obviously you think this is a good deal. Okay, that's fine. I would move that recommendation.
Yeah, most of the savings will be in this building and the arena.
They've been added to this contract,
They've
right?
been
That's the
added to the
difference. There were, these
contract.
buildings weren't in the contract
Right.
before, now they are. That's why we as a corporation will save the money.
Okay, so I'll
Not
move that
specific-
recommendation.
Yeah, yeah. Councillor Barton?
Yeah, just in the future on something like this, we hear about the total savings, but there's only one number, which was the 11,000 saved over the next 5 years, or 3 years, I think it was. It would have been nice to see a spreadsheet but just so we could get a sense of the total amount we spend now, what the savings is gonna be, so we could have a better sense of what the numbers are here. That's my only suggestion. It was hard to understand in this format.
It was a little confusing. I did ask Ben about it last week. The fact that we added the 2 new facilities where the savings is, it really doesn't apply. They weren't included in the contract prior. That's why
Right.
there's a savings.
Yeah, again, just
Okay, so we have a mover. A seconder, please. Councillor Beach. Question, Councillor Hyatt?
So if we pre-approve this now, Ben, does that mean that the 2018 budget will be affected by 2.5%, or are we talking next year's budget?
This year's budget.
So
I think they
are-
wanted to start
Immediately.
July 1st or
July 1st?
August 1st, yeah.
So do we need to have a separate motion on changing this year's budget to accommodate this? Or are you gonna,
It's not very much money.
so there's gonna be savings from someplace else, I'm assuming? It
Yeah.
just doesn't say how we're paying for it, that's all.
Well, overall, it'll be a savings, right? It'll be a savings for the municipal office, it'll be a savings for the arena, and a small increase for works. So you're gonna save money overall.
We have a motion duly seconded. All those in favor? Carried. This is report PWO 5518 regarding the chimney repair at the music hall. Councillor Ballinger.
I'm gonna move this report, the recommendation. I sit on the music hall board. I do miss meetings because it clashes with Toronto Region Conservation. The one thing about this board is they always keep me up to date if I don't make the meeting. I talked with Kara Aaron prior to this report coming forward, and I totally agree. The floors in the balcony at this point in time don't need to be done, but that chimney needs to be done. So on those things alone, I will be glad to move the report.
Could I have a seconder, please? Seconder, Councillor Bryan. Any other questions? Councillor Hyatt?
Is there anything in the music hall fund, Ben, that we could use to initiate the balcony repairs as well?
The music hall fund is meant for,
Like lighting?
improved enjoyment for the...
Yes.
We're all right.
Upgrading
We'll
the
rebudget the floor next year.
Okay.
Great. All's in favor? Carried. This is report BL 1118 of Andre. Oh, I'm sorry, it is PWO 5618, the culvert relining. Councillor Bryan.
I know it's a little bit over budget, but Ben says that we can find the money somewhere else in savings, so I will move this recommendation.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hyatt. All's in favor? Carried. This is BL 1118 Andre Grattan. This is regarding that cowboy mounted shooting. Well, let's see if we need them. What would you like to do with this?
Well, I'd like to...
Do you want to talk, do you have some questions for Andre? Okay.
I don't have a problem with somebody shooting a blank gun at balloons riding a horse. I guess I just don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with real guns, but, you know, cowboys and Indians and whatever way you want to put it, blank gun, and the neighbors that I see that they don't have a problem, so I'd like to hear more about it.
I think the noise is the same, though. That's the issue, right? How much more we got to go through here? All right, how about we break for about 5 minutes and wait till Andre comes back, okay? Great. All righty, let's reconvene. There's Andre. Andre, you may as well come right up front or the podium, wherever you like. We are on BL 1118. This is regarding the cowboy-mounted shooting on private property. Does anybody have any questions for Andre? I think you had a question, Councillor Ballinger.
I do, Mr. Mayor. And Andre, I guess I read through this and looked at it, and I'm smiling because I can remember as a kid all the things I did with a cap pistol. And I'm reading about somebody riding on a horse, shooting a blank, like a starter's gun, you know, what they have for track and field, and shooting at balloons. And I'm not having a problem with it, so I want your explanation, like the neighbors had signed a thing here saying that they don't have a problem with it, so just kind of put me in where you're coming from. Thanks.
I guess in my review of the information that is available, and as you can see from my report, there's not a great deal. It does involve a restricted firearm, using a restricted firearm, so it still has the ability to fire live ammunition, but in this circumstance it's just black powder. I also understand that there is something that still does come out of the charge, but with something like this, it does have the ability to be causing a disturbance for the neighboring properties due to the levels that we're going to be seeing. So if you look at the chart that's been provided, it is going to be quite noisy. Some information that we don't have at this point. I mean, I have spoken to Mrs. Mahoney. She expects to shoot once a week. I don't know what was discussed with the other property owners, the neighboring properties, if they're okay with once a week, or if it's going to become twice a week, 3 times a week, if that changes things for them. Just in what we learned from dealing with the shooting range and the noise that can be produced as a result, I think that council committee should be cautious in providing.
Okay, I appreciate that. And what's your feeling on somebody trying it? Do we see if it works or not?
Just in response to Councillor Ballinger's questions, My understanding of the letter that is being requested to provide to the CFO, I don't know that that can be done on a temporary basis, as it would result in permissions from them on an annual. So it would, I don't know that that can happen on a temporary basis.
Then what's wrong with having the proponent sign something saying it's going to be tried on a temporary basis till we see what the result is?
Andre? Go.
With it, but I'm not having the problem.
Okay. Other questions? Councilor Rona.
So the problem seems to be with noise, right? I don't know much about guns, but can't they use guns that don't create as much noise?
My understanding is that it is a somewhat new discipline, and they don't have the technical data to be able to provide on how loud it is. But when you're looking at comparison, it's comparable to firing live ammunition. So you're talking in excess of 70 decibels per blast, per shot. So it is quite loud when you look at something like the shooting range that is set at 60 as an average.
Well, something like a 22 is not very noisy.
W told me that.
Something like a 22 caliber is not very, doesn't create much noise.
Okay. In acoustics, it's the propagation of sound and how far that can go. And there's all environment guidelines with regards to noise. So they set that number being 45. If it's happening more than 9 times within an hour, they set that at 45. So that is considerably low, but when you're looking at 70 every single time, it can be quite loud, and I do anticipate that you will hear from neighboring properties. We do have a subdivision that's going into the north of that. I do anticipate there may be some issues.
Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, just to build on the noise issue, these are Colt 45s, right, or Smith & Wesson, something like that? Like a 6-gun, is that what we're talking about?
I'm not a gun person, but yes, is my understanding,
I'm
something
assuming
similar.
if you mentioned 45, it's not an automatic, it's like a 6-gun.
Yep.
So they are quite loud, if you've ever discharged one. My question, I guess, is this seems to be something that's going on elsewhere. How are they dealing with it, or do you know these other municipalities?
In my research, I didn't find a great deal of information. There have been some events that have occurred, and they've been handled differently. And I think looking at an event happening versus somebody just practicing for the event is different, but I didn't really find anything about people requesting just being able to practice on their property.
And how long would this be going on? Did they give you any indication? Is it like a one-off, one-day?
With regards to the events themselves, I don't have much information about that. But obviously, in order for Ms. Mahoney to participate, she would have to desensitize her horse to it to know that she can participate, so that's part of her request as well.
I mean, I'm just wondering, we allow like movie companies to come in and do a shoot, if you excuse the pun. We didn't allow them. Where they're using live ammunition but blanks, and we allow it for, you know, a period of 6 hours or whatever. So they get an exemption to the bylaw. I just wondered, could this sort of thing be along those lines, where you're having a limited time, you're limited to certain hours of the day, that kind of thing?
With regards to that question, and as per Councillor Ballinger's suggestion, if there was specific parameters that council wanted to see, that it was only happening on certain days during certain times. But if I don't have that within a municipal bylaw, it becomes difficult for me to address non-compliance.
Could we structure it similar, like a smaller scale version of what we've done with the shooting sports group? Something along those lines, that they have to follow these protocols?
I'd have to speak with legal department or a solicitor.
Maybe we need to get more
to that.
information on it.
Yep.
So I'm not opposed to the idea, I just think we have to have some kind of ability to regulate it, right? So.
Right, and my concern from a staff level would be my ability to deal with non-compliance of those issues. How would that work? So.
I have a couple of questions too. So we do we have any idea, and I can ask Lisa to come up in a few minutes, but do we have any idea how many shots per hour, how long of a day they shoot for? Do we know any of that? Can I ask?
No, just, perhaps Lisa can
Maybe Lisa can
provide
come up.
some information, but my understanding was she anticipates kind of 1 day a week she would be able to do it. There's 2 separate locations on the property where she's asked to do it.
Mhm.
One is out indoor, in an indoor riding arena, which is quite a ways back from the roadway and farther away from the houses, versus the outdoor riding ring that's just quite close to the roadway, so there's different issues there as well for noise.
So where is the new development planned? How close to it would this be?
I don't know how many
don't-
meters, I'd have to
Okay.
look, but it's just to the north of that. So we're south of Webb Road on Concession 4, so
Right.
just north of that on the east side of the road,
Okay.
so not too far.
Could we maybe have a motion to bring these up, and Councillor Barton, Councillor Bryan, and if we have any questions directly for her, we can ask her. All's in favor? Carried. Lisa, you can speak at that podium if you like, right there. Just hit the button. The gray button. You're on. Great. Great. Do we have any questions for her? Councillor Bryan.
Yeah, to kind of build along what Councillor Malloy and Councillor Barton and I were talking about, how many shots do you anticipate going off in one of these?
I had a brief discussion there with Councillor Barton. I'm not sure how many shots because I haven't really done this.
Mhm.
How I explained is one circuit, it's 10 balloons, so you shoot 10 balloons and you're kind of done. So that's 10 shots.
Okay.
Me being by myself, I would do that, then I would have to dismount and attach my horse and reload my guns and do the balloons again. So it's not like you're going to hear 10 shots all in a row and then another 10. You're going to hear 10 and then I
like
have
5
to
minutes
do
later, we'll hear another 10, and then...
and maybe 10 minutes by the time I get everything organized and maybe another 10.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility for the second night we could hear 50 shots in an hour?
Yeah, possibly 50 in an hour.
And how many
and
hours
I'm
would this go on?
guessing after an hour I'm probably done. My horse might be done before then. So it's hard. He wanted me to give him a number. It's hard to give you a number.
Have you attended one of these in the past? You have some
I
frame of
did.
reference? And how
That's why I'm. I went to an event in I think it was Mono or Orangeville. Anyway, they have events there now. The lady who runs it, she has permission to do this on property that is not her property, but she leases the property, I believe. So she has permission to do this, so she practices there. She also has these events, which is the one that I went to, which is to try out mounted shooting, see if you like it. And that's what I did. And
so maybe the thought process might be if staff reaches out to Mono Township and gets some information from them
and
about how many shots and what went on.
I tried to contact the different townships, and I got, which I sent to Debbie, an email. It was, Mono. I asked them if they'd had any complaints. They just had a recent event, and the council said there was no complaints. I also contacted someone, Blandford Blineham Township, and the fellow I was in touch with, he emailed me back and said he'd actually forgotten that the event was there until he drove by it the other day, and there was no complaints. So.
And I'm not adverse to this. I just think it's not something I want to get into permanently, and I don't know if we have the ability to make it a one-off to see how it goes.
Right.
Right. And do that. I think then we can try it, and then we'll get our sort of feedback. So if we could find some way to do that, make it a one-off, I would certainly make that motion.
Okay.
Anyways, that's my
Could I
question. Thank
also
you.
just say something about the noise too? Having shot, I'm also a pistol shooter, so I shoot 9mm and pistols, and I wear plugs in my ears and then the other on top. And when I was doing the mounted shooting with the blanks, I just had the little ears inside, and even if I didn't have those, it wasn't like, oh my God, if I shot without those in, it wasn't the same. I mean, I know I don't have technical data for that, but I just say it's not as loud.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah.
Sorry.
With our discussion earlier, it was all about, how many shots per day are your neighbors going to have to deal with, and I'm very sensitive to it. I've got a gun range in my ward, and it's been a very hot topic here and with the residents. So, what I would support if we could find out how to logistically do it would be, say, 140 shots a day maximum of 2 or 3 days a week, and then, and that would be with the 45. And then if you needed to practice more, having a much quieter 22 that we would allow you to do more of that with.
But
And I know...
You can't get blanks for 22, though. It's a smaller,
Okay, and I'm just trying to find a way to make it less of a nuisance for your neighbors so that we can try it out.
But I've contacted my neighbors.
But people buy and sell houses, and it's just because people are fine with it now, after they deal with it for a little while. Animals with loud noises like this, often dogs will go crazy and run away, and we hear about it every time there's fireworks, right? So it's a potential issue that we want to be very careful of.
Right.
I want to be open, but obviously with restrictions of some sort.
My other comment is that, excuse me, I don't think anyone's going to hear it if I'm in my indoor arena. Like, my driveway is like half a kilometer long, so my arena's at the back of my property. If I'm in there shooting balloons, no one's going to hear it.
Thanks, Lise. Although, the concern too with that driving at the shooting range on the 4th concession, you can be pumping gas at Canadian Tire and you can hear it. So it does go a long, long way.
Yeah.
But my question is this, is it your intention to make it just for yourself, or will this become a commercial enterprise?
Oh, no, just for myself. It's just so that
You're the
I
only one
can-
that'll be shooting there?
Pardon?
You're the only one that'll be shooting there?
Yes.
Other questions? Oh, Councillor Beach?
A lot of my questions have been answered.
Okay.
My concern is, like, with all the issues that we've had with the shooting range, we've limited them to 60 decibels. What was in our information was 70, so that's 10 over what we've already allowed.
But, and I believe that's for a real bullet, not for a blank, though. Because I couldn't find any information on blanks. I contacted the RCMP, the CFO. I've got their response here, and actually I contacted a company, Fiocchi, who makes blanks, and they don't have any data on how loud it is. So
Okay, no, that was just, I was just going by what was in what we had to
Right.
read. And,
so that
there's
was provided by
bylaw.
yes.
Okay.
But and like I'm saying, though, it's not 70.
Yeah, no, because I was just concerned with that, and, if there was going to be anybody else, but no, it's just going to be you. Now, is
My
there
coach, if I have a coach, I'm going to have
would
a
the coach be firing too?
Well, I might be firing, and she'll tell me, how
What
to
you're
do.
doing or not doing, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So, okay, now there was another thought there. Is there a particular day of the week that you'd be looking at? Just don't say a Sunday.
No, I'm not sure, like maybe a Friday, Saturday kind of thing.
Okay. Because, it looks fine on paper and everything that I ran, but, I just have a little bit of concern, like, you have to have a special, certificate to have the gun that you have, correct?
Yes, and I'm licensed.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I figured if you were
Yeah.
doing the other shooting. And that, I would love to come down and see and hear it.
And pardon, to see?
See and hear, because you're in my ward.
Right, but I can't do that until I get permission from
Yeah.
the CFO. Which, to get permission from the CFO, I need a letter from you guys saying, yes, this is not against our bylaws. But there are events that you could attend to see if you...
Okay.
If I could give you,
Yes.
when the next
and,
event is.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, and I do have a great concern about the subdivision that is just above you.
Well, it's several kilometers north of me.
Is it several kilometers? Even several kilometers, and you get a bunch of people building high-end homes and going, what's this?
Moving to the country.
Yeah. They're disillusioned by what actually happens in the country.
People shoot in the country.
Yeah. No, and I understand that. How many acres do you have?
We have 100 acres.
You have 100 acres. And other than horses, do you have any other livestock?
We have cattle.
Okay.
we hay, we have
What,
hay.
beef cattle or?
Yes, beef.
Beef cattle. And how many horses?
4.
4, okay. So has your horse been desensitized to the shooting?
No, that's,
So this is a
that's
whole...
why I need to...
It's a whole thing, okay, thank you.
Councillor Hyatt.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Could you just describe for me the type of weapons that you're using? You mentioned,
Pardon?
you
The
mentioned
type-
that you're using a 9mm now, and you're switching to a 45, is that
Oh,
what I'm hearing?
sorry, I do that not on my property, I do that at a gun range.
Oh, at a gun
yes,
range, okay.
I'm a competitive pistol shooter.
Okay.
I don't know if you've
So
heard
what are
of
you,
it.
what are you firing now, did you say, a 9mm?
9mm, yeah.
And you're changing to a 45 for this particular...
I'm going to have to purchase a 45 to do
Oh,
this
so you don't
particular
have it
sport.
presently, okay.
I do
That
not
was my
yet.
next question. There is a substantial difference, as you probably well know, between those two types of firearms.
Yes.
And again, we're concerned about the noise at a particular source, so it won't be basically on your property, it'll be what does your neighbor hear 500 yards away or whatever the distance is. That's our concern.
Right.
I don't know if you've had the chance to read through the agreement that we have with the Expert Shooting Sports. I don't know if you've
No.
been that far down. Maybe your conversations with Councillor Barton can kind of bring that up to speed.
Right.
Because he is the councillor for the area, he's right, he's been faced with all kinds of opposition for that, which has been in place for, I think, since the 1960s
Right.
or something, right? So that's our concern. It's not so much the activity that you're doing, it's where does that sound go to? And
Right.
who's...
I guess that would be a little different in that, you know, at the range, I don't know, you could have, 10,
Yeah,
20 shooters at
exactly,
one time
right.
all firing, which is different than just me firing
Sure.
10 shots and then
I mean,
pause.
I think it's a great idea in principle. I'm just concerned about what happens if, you know,
Right.
and that's the kind of thing we have to look at. If Mono's already doing this, Andre, maybe that you can check that out and find out how they are dealing with it. And maybe we could use that as a template for what we need here, so.
Go ahead, Andre.
Just a thought.
I anticipate that the Township of Mono would be classifying the event separately. There is criteria within our discharge of firearms bylaw that exempt that type of noise for a sporting event. So if they're classifying this mounted shooting as a sporting event, it would create an exemption. So it's a bit different than somebody practicing individually on the property. But I would anticipate that's what they're looking at, because that was something that's a similar approach that was taken for the criteria that I have given council, within the United States in that particular state.
Just thinking, if we have something already in place for shooting sports,
Mhm.
if there's a smaller version that we could do for Mrs. Mahoney. Anyway, if you could look into that, that would be great. Thank you.
Just a very quick question. So I see you've got some neighbors that have signed, so roughly what proximity would those neighbors be to you? How far did you reach out?
So I went to my neighbor, obviously on both sides of me, and then 3 neighbors to the south, like across the street from where I am.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
like half a kilometer
Okay.
away would be the, or
Okay.
actually probably closer, maybe the farthest neighbor is maybe a kilometer, almost a kilometer away.
Okay. Councillor Beach.
Thank you. For the, Andre, for Mono Mills, could you ask them if they have okayed any, for individuals, just like Ms. Mahoney? You know, like an event's an event. As you said, it's one thing. But individuals, for any of these other places that have had the events, do they have any residents that have applied for the same thing as we're being asked here?
I can definitely follow up with them to inquire. In my research, I wasn't able to find anything that related to one person specifically practicing on their property. It more related to somebody wanting to hold an event. So,
Because it would be interesting if we could find out if there's any municipality that has, or where these people come from. Like, do you know where other competitors come from?
Where they come from?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of competitors, like obviously in the Mono, Orangeville area, and I believe Brett Needham, she's the, president of the Ontario Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association. I believe she has permission on her property, like I said, that she's leasing to do this, whether it's practicing or events, and it's not just for specific events. She could do this, I think, every day.
So Andre, there's gotta be, if there's that many people that are competing from the Mono Mills area, there has to be some...
They have to practice somewhere.
Yes.
Councillor Barton.
Yeah, just really quick, I did Google for about 4 minutes. There's half-load shots as well. So, which would be, there's half-load, which would be half the gunpowder, which would be significantly quieter.
Yes.
Which might be a compromise. Why don't we've talked a lot about it, why don't we find out more information and come back? Sorry to delay it, but I don't think we have enough information to move forward with it.
Is there any information I could try to get that would...
I think we need some from staff too, so I think
Okay.
Councillor Barton's making a motion to table. Someone like to second that? Councillor Bryan? Would you like to suggest when?
Andre, not that you have a ton of time.
Will we be okay for August meeting?
Sure. At least then we'll know if we have to table it again.
Okay. Table to the August meeting. Any other questions? All those in favor? All those in favor? Carried. So Lisa, we're gonna table it. There's still some more issues, so maybe we can
Sure.
finalize it somehow in August
Okay.
for you.
If there's anything I can
Great.
help provide, let me know.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Just so we can help our staff get out of here, would somebody like to make a motion to move, to bring forward RC 1118? This is, the, historical side of the museum. Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Pat, you can come up forward now if you like, please. So this is a report, RC 1118, from Pat Neal, Museum Manager, Curator, and Amanda Ferraro. This is regarding an accessibility grant. Questions? Councillor Beach.
Not so much exactly a question as a comment. Yes, the pathways are really dangerous. They've really degraded in the last year to 2 years. They're horrible. They're not even safe for people that don't have accessibility issues to walk on. I know when I've been up there in the last month or so, I have not walked on the pathways. I've walked on the grass because it's been so bad. So we do need to do something. And I would support, going ahead and, seeing what grants or what we can get and do.
I would, I'd support this, but it would be based on being approved in the budget. I don't think we can approve, in my opinion, I don't wanna approve $30,000 or whatever prior to even going to budget. It's out of the blue. It's a lot of money. And I would suggest, I would approve it if, subject to council's approval in the budget process.
Yeah, the only issue with that is, can we apply for the accessibility grant if we don't have pre-budget approval?
That's my problem, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying, that
Yeah.
if we approve going for the, we can approve applying for the grant, but it will be dependent on council approving it in budget.
Right. Now, would we, just a question to Amanda, you've done this before, if we haven't okayed the funds here, is there any chance of us getting the accessibility grant?
I'll let Pat actually answer
Okay.
that because she was investigating the criteria for it.
Yes, so we are required to have the additional 35% confirmed in order to apply for the funding. However, we are exploring other opportunities for funding to cover the portion that this particular grant does not cover.
Pat,
That this what, so, I'm sorry?
So we are exploring other opportunities for other funding to cover the 35% of the funding that this grant doesn't cover. So enabling accessibility will cover 65% of the costs to pave the pathways and install some accessible parking. And then we're looking at the Historical Society applying for funding through Trillium to offset the costs.
Councillor Barton?
a huge amount of the asphalt, from what I could tell in the photos, was the driveway to the north between the schoolhouse and the church, I think. That section was a lot of asphalt, and then the accessible parking is a big part as well. Could we use crushed asphalt in the parking lot? So recycled asphalt there, and then leave just a path going through, connecting the path, but not actually paving that area there. It would be more environmentally friendly and would also accomplish the same goal of making it more accessible. Would that be a compromise that we could move forward with? And you might have to requote, that's the problem, right?
I'm not really quite sure I understand your question.
Oh, okay.
So the major cost was paving 72% of the walkways.
Okay, that was, okay, because it just looked like there was a large portion of the asphalt that was more the accessible parking in that full driveway.
So we're looking at two areas of accessible parking, one area between the church and the school, which presently is just gravel.
Yeah.
And then paving the turnaround and the first row of parking in the main parking area. It would reduce the cost if we dropped paving, creating an accessible parking spot between the church and the school, but I would have to get that requoted. I don't know what that amount would be.
Councillor Hyatt?
Thank you. What would be the intake timelines for the accessibility grant and the OTF that you were talking about earlier?
So both projects are 2019. They wouldn't
Okay.
start until the spring.
So when would we apply, assuming?
The Trillium grant deadline is August 15th, and
Okay.
we would hear from both projects, both funders, December, January.
December. So this is a 2019 project then? for
That's
the
correct.
The actual build?
Yeah.
So what would we need now, I guess, in order for you to apply for those two grants? Or we need pre-budget approval? Is that what we're asking for here today?
That's what they're asking for.
We could, just go with the straight 20. So the grant would ask that we would have the $20,000 available to contribute that 35%. The extra 10 was just to finish the parking lot. So what we could do is if council deems,
So
you
you
know,
could- you
the
could phase it into
$20,000
two
versus
things.
the $30,000, we could still apply for the grant with the 20,000, because there's no commitment on our part for us to have that extra 10. It was,
Okay.
especially now since we're looking at a Trillium grant to help offset some of the costs, you know, we might not even need that 10.
So we could break it into two sections then?
Yeah, and if we do the Trillium grant, we would actually, add, lighting and, expanding the parking lot. So we'd actually make the project a bit bigger,
Okay.
and then we would declare that this grant is gonna be part of that Trillium as well.
Okay. I'll move that recommendation.
Councillor sorry.
Sorry, did
What
you-
recommendation are you moving exactly?
Amanda just said breaking the 20 out.
That you commit 20,000?
So that would be recommendations 1
On
to
a
3, but
pre-budget
not
approval,
number
yeah.
4.
And then they would apply for the OTF, or the Historical Society rather would apply for the ATF, OTF.
Got that, Debbie?
Okay.
Debbie, it's just gotta be clear for Debbie, she doesn't
Okay,
have
Debbie?
that. No, she says no.
Okay,
She
let
says no.
me read the recommendation, hang on a sec.
No.
1, 2, and 3. Well, 4
So-
would go, 4 would go to the Trillium application.
So the motion is just to move recommendations 1, 2, and 3.
Well, do we need approval to go with 4 for Trillium?
No,
No.
we don't.
All right.
Councillor Ballinger?
5% money that we could get from the government.
Absolutely.
Councillor Beach?
I totally agree, like, because, I mean, right now, we have a liability issue. And we can't have that go on, well, we shouldn't have it right now, but it shouldn't be ongoing. We need to definitely move ahead and get some things into place as soon as possible, absolutely.
Okay, we have a motion, moved and seconded. Any other questions? All seconded, yeah.
Okay, so I'm
Do you wanna read it? Okay.
Number 4, that's it?
Taking out number 4. Okay, all's in favor? Carried. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Amanda. What am I back to now? I'm back to, okay, we're back to BL 1218, Andre Grattan, the proposed new parks bylaw. Oh. Lost him again. Do we have any questions on this bylaw? Do you have a question on the bylaw? Go ahead.
Well, the question is, I don't know exactly what has changed. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I have to get to the right page, but we basically say that you can't ride horses, but we're calling our trails parks. So it says it's now outlawing horses from our trails, I think, the way I read it. There's a number of other things.
There's a lot of changes.
There's a lot of changes in here. I think it's, what's frustrating about just seeing the new report is we don't know what's different. What I really liked was Catalina's, she's not here so I can talk her up, but I really liked further down, she talked about this change, this change, this change in another report that she brought us. So it was very easy to understand what we were doing differently.
So why don't you, I don't think Andre's gonna be able to answer all these questions. Why don't we table this? Table this for the August meeting, and, well.
He's here, you might as well talk to him.
Andre, this is regarding the proposed new parks bylaw, and I guess the concern is that it's a pretty large number of changes, and we don't know what the changes were to the original. But the original one was there wasn't very much in the original one. Almost all of this is new, really.
It's not considerable amount of changes. There is added definitions. What happened with the pre-existing bylaw was the structure of it and the wording of the provisions themselves didn't allow me to get set fines, so I can't get tickets. And part of one of the main problems that we're having is on our trail systems, with people having fires, erecting tents, and trying to have living spaces on some of our park lands. So the definition that we currently have of the parks in parks does not technically cover trails. It's into a gray area. So although it appears substantially changed, the provisions that are in here currently exist in our old bylaw, and the way that we deal with the fall fair and the major groups that have events in Elgin Park remains the same way as per that exceptions section. So what it does is it outlines some of the current issues that we're having within the bylaw. The provisions are changed so that it allows me to get set fines so that they are ticketable offenses. So if we catch somebody in a tent on a trail and they've been previously warned, we can charge them, not through a Part 3. If I have to go through a Part 3, then the person has to be summoned to court, and it's quite a bit of work for the municipality and results in substantial costs.
Questions? You have a question, Councillor Barton? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I understand what you're trying to do here, and I obviously support you being able to do your job and cost-effectively write tickets, and I get that. What my issues with this, Andre, is that I think we're missing some things. So the way I read through the bylaw, it basically said that horses could no longer be in our parks, right? Horses are something that you ride. But then we're calling our trails parks, so that it looks like we're outlawing horses from our trails, if that makes sense, the way I read it. The other thing is, there's a maximum number of 25 people could come into one of our parks at the same time. So then, if a school group from Uxbridge Public Schools, say, went to Centennial Park to have a picnic, and it was more than 25 kids, then that would be going against our bylaw as well, without getting permission. So I just think it might be an overreach, because there's something about 25 people maximum.
That provision does exist currently within the parks bylaw, so that's not a new provision. Generally, what I try to do with these bylaws is when I bring something before council is that I highlight if there are major and significant changes within the bylaw that have occurred, then I highlight those within my report. But this is changing of general provisions to allow for enforcement.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Barton?
Just, if you wouldn't mind just taking a look at what Catalina provided us for she has a report near the end of council, and I don't have the number here, but she had a table early at the beginning of that where it talked about every change and what that meant. I know it's additional work, but it actually allows us to better understand the changes. So we just see the new bylaw, but we don't see the other one side by side. Makes it complex for us to, you know, it makes it complex for us to move forward with it.
Any other questions, Councillor Hyatt?
Just on the enforcement side, Andre, you've got in here, any township employee is authorized to inform, et cetera, et cetera. So does every township employee know all the ins and outs of this bylaw?
Generally, it depends on the municipality, but within certain municipalities, then park staff have the ability that if they see somebody doing something wrong, they have the ability to ask them to stop. In general, they would inform bylaw, and we would go speak to that individual.
It's an obvious thing, like they're, you know, using a fire or pitching a tent or something, that kind of stands out, but some of these things are maybe a little bit more subtle. You know, obstructing a roadway or path, or, you know, there's some more minor offenses, if you will. So I would suggest honing that down to either park staff and or bylaw staff, or somebody who's up to speed on this. I don't want, you know, somebody from the arena going in and saying, okay, well, you're violating this bylaw because. I think it has to be a select group of people. You understand what I mean?
Short of having the knowledge of those provisions, then it would just come back to being on.
I would hope when it,
on
you know,
our
if
property,
we do need
would not
enforcement,
be-
that those who are up to speed would be the ones doing the
Yeah.
the summons or whatever you want to do it, right? So, I mean, you got everything in here from soup to nuts. I'm not sure what else you can actually do in a park, but anyway, it's
It's comprehensive.
I guess now with this new marijuana legislation coming through, does that change the dynamic here at all? I mean, obviously it's not legal
really
yet, so.
We've stepped back from the enforcement of smoking. That's mostly done by the health department, because there were significant changes made by the province that set some pretty onerous setbacks.
Like you've got possess, consume, serve, or sell alcoholic beverages, but there's nothing that speaks to other things. So I'm not sure whether we need that in there, or is it too early that we have to have it in, or?
It would be a bit too early, because there's different laws in relation to somebody that has medical marijuana with a card versus somebody that's just.
That was my next thought, so.
Right. There's different laws that pertain to different situations.
So would federal law supersede anything that we would have in this, obviously, right? Like if they're licensed to smoke because they have glaucoma or whatever, they wouldn't be an exception, so.
Right. I'm not completely up to speed with how that law is going to affect it, but basically my understanding was that if it was a person that had a card and had medical marijuana, then they could smoke it anywhere they'd like to, but people doing it not through that means are restricted to their own property, which includes backyards.
Great. Thanks.
Councillor Barton?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion again to table this one, to come back with exactly what we've changed on this bylaw from the old one to the new one, and maybe, do you have advice for me
Debbie's
here?
saying you don't want to table, you want to refer it back to staff for an
Okay,
explanation.
so refer this one back to staff and come back with a document that doesn't outlaw horses from our trails. Maybe cleans up the 25 people, maybe a couple of the other things, and then just so we know exactly what's changing from the old bylaw to the new, if people would support that.
How many changes do you think there are, Andre? Actually, it's some old...
The 25 people requiring a permit is something that exists in our current bylaw, so that part is not new. Like I said, generally when I produce reports to council and there's a bylaw attached, if there are substantial changes to the provisions that I feel that council should be made aware of, then I do that within the report. In this circumstance, although the structure is different, administratively it's not different from the current bylaw. It's just worded in a way that will allow me to get set fines through the parks bylaw. So
Councillor Barton suggesting you can't ride horses on the trails anymore.
I'd have to look at the provision. I doubt that is the intention or the criteria set out within that.
Yeah, it's 3.1C. It says use, ride, train, what does it say? Use, ride, train, or race a horse in the park. Okay, so, but that would only be events.
So exceptions, within the exception sections, where it's authorized to happen.
It would have to be an event, though. It couldn't just be somebody out riding.
No.
Oh, activity/event, so it is exempted. Okay. Slash events.
It's just the method, under what when it can take place.
Do you want to turn your mic on, Ingrid?
Well, and the other thing I was gonna say too, I believe that Andre circulated this to Bob as well, for his comments. I think Andre circulated this bylaw to you as well, for your comments, right? And you have to always look at the exemption section of the bylaw, because although it may read one thing in the bylaw, then if you get to the exemption section, that's where it picks it up to say when it can happen, is my understanding with Debbie, right?
Just then clarification, so if we say you can't ride, race, et cetera, horses, and then unless you're doing it for an activity, then why do we outlaw it at all?
Maybe it was to deal with the racing, I'm not sure. Debbie, go ahead.
Okay, so if you look into, as I was just showing Mayor Malloy, if you look into Section 9, the exemption section, so that specifically outlines areas of the general provisions that are exempt. Now, what you don't want to happen, sorry, Andre, I'm going ahead here, but if we just took that out, so yes, while we're defining trails, council approves the activity of horse riding on certain trails, not all trails. So where council would approve horseback riding on certain trails, at certain times of year in certain parks, what you don't want to have is, for example, somebody riding a horse on a trail that is in the middle of town, or riding their horse on a frequent basis through Elgin Park, Centennial Park, when you have, as an example, you have a bunch of kids from the school there, and you have 4 riders coming through with horses. So by us exempting particular things at particular times in particular areas, that still allows staff the authority to enforce in other areas at other times in other different parks. So you can't just whitewash the whole thing and say we're just going to allow horse riding on trails, because we don't allow them on all trails.
But I think we do, though. We don't have horses that aren't banned from any trail, are they?
Well, I think if I recall, staff were asked as part of their trail discussion, and this goes back to Amanda, the council wanted staff to be able to say what is allowed on what trail. So if we've got trails, because we've got boardwalk issues that are out there where the boardwalks may not have been engineered to hold the weight of the horse, those trails would not be allowing horses. So I think where you'll get with your trails is you're going to be able to say that the following trails are built to accommodate horses and the rest are not. If that's my understanding, right? So those would be clearly marked as equestrian-friendly trails, and other ones would not. So the idea would be that you wouldn't expect to see horses on trails where they're not permitted, which then allows us through the bylaw to be able to say these trails do not permit horses, and we're going to use that bylaw to enforce it, as I understand it. Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at with this? We have a bylaw or a report. Do we have a mover, second, or what do we have?
No.
No, I don't know. Was that seconded?
Councilor moved to refer it back to staff for a report on changes.
Was that seconded?
No.
Okay, do we have a seconder for the Councillor Barton motion? Yes? Councillor Beach? Okay, all those in favor of that motion? Carried. This is report BL 1318. Stick around, Andre. Please. This is BL 1318. Andre, this is regarding the ticket payment service. What would you like to do with this, Council? Councillor Hyatt?
Yeah, I'll move the recommendation.
Seconder?
I think this is something that, we need.
Councillor Beach?
Could hopefully make your lives a little bit more reasonable, but,
Great. All those in favor? Carried. This is report CAO 1418. CAO, this is regarding the property for affordable housing to report to the region. Would somebody like to do with that? Councillor Ballinger?
I'll support that. I sit on the housing down at the region, and we had 34 recommendations when we were done. And one of them was to gather the inventory on surplus land, and Ingrid's done a good job on it, so I'll support it.
However, we're not submitting it, though. The information that Ingrid's got, go ahead.
One of the things that we need to do is we need to have a parks disposition bylaw. And basically what that looks like is, because parkland is often acquired through the process of planning, basically what the bylaw would state is that if parkland is sold, the proceeds of parkland will go towards parkland. They will not go towards building roads. And Amanda's going to be working on the bylaw, the disposition bylaw, which basically will say that any parkland that's sold, those proceeds would end up going into the parkland reserve to be used for that purpose.
So, Councillor Ballinger, you're moving the recommendation, but the recommendation is we're not submitting those properties yet to the region. Just so you're clear of that. Can you put your mic on?
But we're going to do the disposition bylaw, and then when that's complete,
just so we're clear.
Maybe we may have that in August. And if we get that done, then council can then revisit these properties.
Great. Okay, so it's moved by Councillor Ballinger, seconded by Councillor Beach. Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. This is report CAO 1518 of Ingrid as well. This is opening a relief center during a significant event. This is, you know, in the heat wave we just had, we got into a conversation about this, and we used to have in our cooling center bylaw that 45 degrees on the Humidex was the temperature, because at one point in time, the Minister of Labour, I think, used to have 45 on, and we said, so if the Humidex gets to 45, our staff have to come inside anyway, our park staff from outside, so we would use them to come in and open up our cooling centers. The reality is 45 is too hot, so what we're doing is we're bringing it back down to about 40, because I think anything over 40 is enough, so we're going to open them at 40. And that moved by Councillor Bryan, second by Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Carried.
Question on that? It'll be quick, Pat.
Yeah, go ahead. We ask questions before we vote, but go ahead.
No, so I know, you went too quick. What's the amount of time at 45 degrees? Is there just the magic number of, 40 degrees?
40 on the Humidex,
yeah,
not
so,
40 degrees,
no, I know.
40 on the Humidex.
So 40 on the Humidex for 5 minutes, as soon as it hits it, we open
As soon as it hits
them?
it. As soon as it hits it. We'll open our centers from, I think, 12 to 6 it says, yeah.
Okay,
To
good.
5 or whatever, I can't remember what it says. Okay, this is PR 1318, Bob Ferguson. This is regarding the Fountain Electric Light Pond. I did do, and I think I sent it to Bob, right? I sent you the new info. So I went to the pawn shop up on, the, whatever, it's not a pawn shop, but anyway, I went to, Elaine, where they sell the garden artifacts, Elaine, where they sell, and I had a great discussion with her, and she told me that most of the ones that she has there are 1/2 and 1 horsepower, and the largest ponds that they have, they generally deal with somewhere around 2 horsepower, and she suggested to me, and through the same company that Bob had already sourced out, that a 3 horsepower fountain would be absolutely ample for what we needed, and I think they come with a 3-year warranty. So, part and parcel to that was we had to look around and find the money. So this one is about $8,300 plus HST for a 3 horsepower, and we found just over $7,000 that we can use from the solar farm, a fund that we get the $10,000 every year from. So we can use $7,000 from that. So all we really need to come up with is about $1,000 or so. So that's kind of where we're at. Bob, do you have any comments you want to make on that?
Yeah, just to comment on that, I did have a couple companies come out and look at the pond. Basically, the size of the pump is how big of spray pattern you're going to get. So there's a 5 horsepower pump, if anybody wanted to look. There's a 5 horsepower pump in the Windant subdivision from one of the companies that is quoted. So you can see the size, and Electric Light Pond is quite a bit larger than what their pond is down in Windant. So it gives you an idea of the size of it. Just on that price that they give you there, Pat, 'cause I dealt through Arbrooks, is...
The
and
same
that's-
company,
And it's
yeah.
the same company.
Yeah.
Their price in the quote here that I showed you doesn't include installation. So I just wanna make sure that if she's saying that that's what the price is, does that include installation as well? Because it is a couple $1,000s to get them to do that.
But all I don't understand, they're putting the fountain in the pond and they're plugging it in, and that's $2,000?
That's what they all charge, yeah.
Well, I think that's nuts. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I mean, we already
I
have the
agree.
hydro there at the side of the pond, we're all set up to plug it in, that's all we have to do.
Yeah.
Ingrid, go ahead.
But I think, so we're moving away from your recommendation, I think, is where Councilor, or Pat is coming from, and moving to the 3 horsepower, which I have another price, which I sent to you, and that's the one that comes to under $10,000. So they would still probably want an installation fee though, right?
Yeah, that's all I'm asking, just so council's clear, is their price including installation or not, that's all.
No, that was only for the pump. The $8,300 was for the 3 horsepower pump.
Right.
That's what it was for.
Yeah, so you will have an installation
So
cost
it'd be a
on top of
maximum
that.
of $10,000, and then we can make it up to $10,000, that should cover the installation, I think. 83 to 10? Okay. Okay, so I would just like to change the recommendation. He has 11,000 and change, and we can make it up to $10,000, and it would be, 70% of that would be supported by the, what's it called? Rose Plan Fund that we get every year, Rose Plain Fund that we get every year. If somebody would like to make that recommendation. And that's for the 3 horsepower. Councillor Bryan?
Yeah, I'll make that recommendation. I'll have to talk louder because of the rain.
Yeah, well, that's
I
brutal.
think, that's one of the ponds that I really like, because it's, as you come into town, it's right across from the hospital. I've had a lot of residents who back onto it, want that, put in, so I'll move that recommendation. I know Councillor Ballinger has some other comments to add, but I'll certainly make that recommendation.
Councillor Ballinger?
Yeah, I think you have to look at Elgin Pond as well, whether you do it through the budget process, but let me tell you, that stinks. In this hot weather, that stuff floats all on top. The cold water draw there, it just sucks all the cold water down underneath, so all the stuff lays on top. It's awful. And when I was Ward 4 councillor, the biggest complaint I got was that pond. And I still get them, even though it's Mr. Bryan's ward, I still get them. In fact, I got a letter from one guy saying, paint the shack, which Mr. Ferguson's done, it looks great there, it's all painted, but also that pond. That, when they're pulling the cold water from down below, it leaves all the water warm on top. Something has to be done, because if you do Electric Light Pond, you're gonna hear from the people that live around Elgin Pond, for sure, because they've requested this. And I know the problem was in all the ponds that it gets all jammed up and guckied up and it burns the motor out. But there must be a way to get around that, whether you put some kind of a screen, but it's awful at Elgin Pond. We used to swim in there.
How about Councillor Ballinger, if we go ahead with Electric Light Pond and refer Elgin Pond to the 2019 budget?
That's fine.
Then it's there and it's ready to go.
You're certainly gonna hear from the residents, I can tell you that right
Okay,
now.
so we'll move ahead.
We'll do 1 a year.
The motion will say we move ahead with Electric Light Pond and move Elgin Pond to the 2019 budget. Does that satisfy you?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll do 2 separate motions. One for this one, for the Electric Light Pond. And we have a mover, Councillor Bryan, and the second was Councillor Barton. All those in favor? Well, I'm doing the first one.
No, but what is it?
Oh, the first one is to buy a 3 horsepower, approve a 3 horsepower fountain, up to a maximum of $10,000.
Bob, can I ask, does that
installed this
fountain
year.
control algae or anything like that?
2018.
Not
Okay,
nec-
so that's
not necessarily, it just...
Just cosmetic looking. Doesn't really
It
do
does
anything.
create some flow, and it does keep the water moving around or whatever, depending on the size of obviously the size of the pump
Size
and
of
the
the
flow
pond.
pattern, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion, so we'll go ahead with the fountain in 18, and then and I'll do another motion for Elgin Pond. That's the way Debbie wants it. All's in favor? Carried. So now we need a mover. Councillor Ballinger and Councillor Bryan move that we refer the Elgin Pond fountain to the 2019 budget. Is that okay? Any questions? All's in favor? Carried. Good, Bob. Thank you. This is report CL 38 18 from Catalina. This is the proclamation policy and flag protocol. Do you want to say a few things, Catalina, please? Yeah, you got to talk really loud. Wow, that's something,
That's good, the rains came. Can't hear me.
We can hear you. Yeah, just...
Hello. I'll cut that out of the video. The flag protocol, just that we reference the foyer and not the flag outside. So I have made that change, if you all agree to that.
Just for the nonprofit groups and yeah, okay. Okay, any other questions? Councillor Barton.
I think we missed the Premier of Ontario in that policy. I didn't notice the Premier of Ontario as the half-mast policy that was attached.
That was on purpose.
I don't know.
I don't think it's there.
Would you add the Premier of Ontario to that as well as a friendly amendment?
Sure.
Okay, good. Any other questions of the policy? All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Catalina. You have another one here. Now, we have the Annual Integrity Commission's report. This is CL 4218, so apparently we've all been very, very good, and we had no complaints 2017. That's good. Any questions or comments on this report? Somebody like to move? Oh, did I miss one? What did I miss? Oh, the procedural one, sorry. This is 3918 of Catalina, regarding the procedural bylaw. Any questions of that? Most of this is housekeeping. Councillor Hyatt?
Can you hear me? I'm just wondering, should the next council be looking at their own procedural bylaw rather than us enacting it now? Is there a reason we're doing it?
The reason that we're putting it forward now is because we're codifying and putting in writing a lot of the practices that we're already doing, and you guys are the experts after being on council for this long, that you can make it as strong as possible for the next council.
But they may change their minds and decide to go in a different direction, so they would just amend what we did? Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Could I have go ahead. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Barton, seconded by Councillor Bryan. All those in favor? Carried. Now we're at 4218 regarding the Integrity Commission's report. Moved by Councillor Question? Moved by Councillor Barton, seconded by Councillor Hyatt. All those in favor? Carried. 25 minutes ago, I started to point that out. Catalina again. I think everybody understands this is 4318. We understand the lame duck period. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think what this does require is a motion to delegate the authority. Do I have a mover and a seconder for this report? Moved by Councillor Beach, seconded by Councillor Bryan.
Okay, so they need to determine whether they're going to or not.
Sorry, we are going to delegate authority, so we have to make that decision here separately? Is that what you're saying,
Well,
Debbie?
that's the recommendation.
Yeah.
Just not make the recommendation, but then consider what it is they're going, what they want to delegate. Are they going to address all those items?
Yeah, I think they have to, don't they?
Well, just so they understand.
Okay, so in the report it lists a whole pile of responsibilities that we currently have, and what we're asking is, because we'll be lame duck, what we're going to be doing is be delegating that responsibility, because we can't make those decisions. So hiring, firing, there's a whole list of them there. So, by moving the recommendation, that's what we're doing, we're delegating that authority, just as long as everybody understands that. We're clear? Fred. Okay, good. So then we'll have to bring the bylaw for August? Is that what we'll have to do?
We have to have it before
Oh, as of
July
July. Okay.
27th.
Okay, it appears there's going to be another meeting in July briefly. Okay. We don't know the date yet, so let's refer the bylaw to that, if that's what we need. Have we voted on this? No? All those in favor? All those in favor? Carried. So that's clear, so we're just moving it forward to... Yeah, go aheid, Gord.
I guess your next report would speak to this, but who would we be delegating that authority to? Or
To the CAO and the clerk.
Alrighty, this is report CL 4418. Laura, this is regarding committee resignations and appointments. Councillor Barton?
Yeah, this is for the accessibility committee, and the accessibility committee, we haven't actually discussed this one. So I'm just surprised this came up without a discussion on the committee itself.
So this is the appointment of somebody from the Community Durham, so they're not appointed by council, they don't have to apply, it's just the community care, the Durham Community Care person that they provide the name to us, and then they join the committee.
And it's changed, so
Yeah,
this is just a new name.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay?
That's why, yeah.
Okay. So do we have a mover and seconder here? Move by council. Did I move them already? Do that? Okay, all in favor? Carried. This is, report CL 4518. This is regarding the, walkway in Goodwood. Do we have something to bring forward with this? We did, it's all done, right? Okay, we're done that. Didn't we move that forward?
Oh, sorry, yes, with,
When
yes,
we did
we
the
did.
resolution?
Yes, we
Okay,
did.
good, okay. Yeah, we're done. Okay, this is report CL 4618 of Debbie LaRue. This is regarding the, purchase, regarding request to purchase parkland adjacent to 102 Second Avenue. Councilor Barton?
So this council, Mary Ann Meek came in here a couple years ago, and this council discussed it, most of this council discussed it, and decided to move ahead with looking at allowing this sale. And then now this report is saying to do the opposite. And the comparable that we're looking at is the guy that bought landlocked property on the other side of the Trans-Canada Trail, which goes through a wetland, over the trail. It was a much more complex thing. We're talking about a 20 by 40 driveway, gives us in the region $40,000 worth of development fees, and gets another infill lot. I'm not sure why we would say no to this, even after reading the report.
Any other questions? So what would you like to do with this report? Is anybody going to move the recommendation? What are we going to do? Somebody has to do something. Councilor Barton?
I move that we support the sale of this land to Mary Ann Meek. Like
Well-
we did the last time she was in front of us.
I think the last time we referred to staff, right?
Oh, well, but
That's a little
like,
different
but
than
with,
supporting it. Yeah, okay, just to be
Yeah.
clear. Just to be clear. Do I have a seconder for that? It's died for lack of it. Councilor Ballinger, you going to second that? Are there any questions? All those in favor? Carried.
So we're gonna sell the land?
We're selling the land. This is report CL 4718. This is regarding the request to purchase township-owned lands on Nicholson Drive. Oh, so what will we tell this person now? What would you like to do with this, council?
just a second, I have a note from Ernie, let me look at it.
Council, what would you like to do with this? Someone's got to do something.
Okay.
You're moving the recommendation, Councilor Hyatt?
Well, it's a little different situation, because this section of land is used for drainage to,
Exactly, and it's
Yeah.
not landlocked or anything,
and,
yeah.
and it's not landlocked. So, my comments from the resident is, the trees are really, really high, and there should be some maintenance done on our own property, so that these trees don't fall onto his property. He's concerned about that.
So what does that have to do with, sorry, I don't understand. He's asking to buy the land, right?
He wanted to buy it and then maintain it himself. If he can't buy it, he's aware, I sent him the information saying that staff have recommended that we don't sell it, which again, I support staff in this one. But then somebody has to maintain it.
Which we do.
No, but we don't.
Well,
I think that's his point.
well, we'll see, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you're moving the recommendation then, essentially, right?
Councillor Hyatt did, and I'll second that.
So the recommendation is to sell on the property? Okay. I just want to be clear. We all understand. Good. Okay. All right. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Carried. Bylaws. Who has the bylaws? No, is there any more on the addendum? Sorry. Did I steal that from you? Alrighty, this is, report CL 4818, Debbie LaRue. This is regarding, floor plan and elevation drawings for the new animal shelter. Somebody like to move that? Councillor Ballinger?
I'll move BB and CC.
BB and CC?
Yes, I'll move them both.
Seconded by Councillor Beach. All's in favor? Oh, you have a question? Councillor Hyatt?
I guess through you to the clerk, are these, interior walls, Debbie, are they modular? Like, can they be changed? For the animal pens and stuff?
No, they're
fixed?
static.
I'm just thinking if we needed to make one room bigger or one room smaller, there's no ability to do this?
No.
No?
Other questions?
Part
Councillor
of,
Barton?
sorry.
Sorry, are you trying to get it? Or I thought no was...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'll have to,
I think they
speak
should
up
be.
through you to Deb. Oh, do you, through you to Deb.
Sorry, I can't even hear myself
We're,
speaking in here.
we're putting asphalt on this building, asphalt shingles. Should we not take a look at steel roofing so we're not replacing it in 15 years? But like the asphalt fiberglass combination. Most of these types of buildings we put steel on and it's not actually any significant additional cost. The first
yes, it is.
What? The
Go ahead, Debbie.
It's not anything that we have priced. Anything I've had to do with the steel roof. We did ask about it when the contractor was here, but it would be significantly more, which means that we're going to have to give up something else. I mean, at this point, we'd be looking for as long as we could on the shingles for a life, but, I mean, at this point, we just don't have the money to do it.
I think the fiberglass ones are guaranteed now 40 years. I don't know if we'll be there, but they're quite a long guarantee on them.
I think the guarantee's 15.
Well, I just bought some at 40, but anyway, go ahead.
But wind wouldn't cover it, right? So, like, the prorated would be 40, but wind on that hill could be significant.
It's kind of in a valley.
And then the other one was, is this a traditional heating and air conditioning system, or we briefly discussed heated floors?
There are no heated floors. We can't afford it.
Yep.
Any other questions of BB and CC? Moved by Councillor Ballinger and duly seconded. All's in favor? Carried. This is report CL 5018, Debbie LaRue. This is regarding the unopened road allowance, Lake Ridge, Harry Archibald, regarding a purchase of property. What would you like to do with this one? Move the recommendation by Councillor Hyatt, seconded by Councillor Bryan. All's in favor? Carried. We'll go to bylaws. Who has the bylaws? Oh, yeah, okay, that's all we need, right? You have a question of a bylaw, Councillor Barton? Which one?
Bylaw number 2018-108. This is... Oh, no, okay, we talked about this one, that's okay. The other one is about the St. John property at 19 First Avenue. What's the plan with that? We were going to allow a new residence to be built by the St. John's on that property. Now both lots appear to be sold. What do they want to do?
We don't know, we weren't part of the purchasing, we don't know.
So what are we doing?
Debbie?
All this is it's basically an administration thing. So when they went through the process, the agreement was put on both properties. So now that they've sold it, they want it removed from the house property. So that's all this is doing. Because when the agreement was done, it was essentially was put on both. And they're asking now that it just be taken off the main property. So that's all this is. We don't know what they're doing. I have no idea what's going to happen with the new lot.
Okay.
Any other questions of the bylaws?
So, just clarification then, sorry. So we're removing what from the main property?
Debbie?
They had to enter into an agreement with us, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but basically a development agreement that was placed on both parcels. So now all we're doing is amending that agreement to remove it from the house property. It will still exist and carry with the lands for the new property, the lot that they created.
Okay, and with that agreement, do we have site plan approval? Again, this is a historic neighborhood. Do we have site plan approval on what is built on that new lot?
I'd have to check. The agreement as it exists will remain on the property, so whatever we had in place originally will stay for the lot.
Yeah, just, I had discussions with the landowner on what they were gonna build, and I just, you know, she had a vision that I agreed with, but now it's sold, so it's gonna be a new owner. I'd like to somehow have some power on that neighborhood that's, that things
We still
fit
will.
together.
To come before council.
We still have to come to us.
On on what's built?
Yeah, the site plan still.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, but it comes to the staff, right, so. Okay, any other questions of the bylaws? Counselor Beach? Don't you have the bylaws? Who has them? Oh, Fred, sorry. Counselor Bryan, bylaws.
Bylaws requiring 3 readings. First reading and second reading, moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton. That leave be granted 2018-097 to 2018-120, and the same be read a first and second time.
All's in favor? Carried. Leave be granted a third reading.
Third reading, moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton, that bylaws number 2018-097 to 2018-120 be now read a third time, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk duly sign and seal same.
All those in favor? Carried. Great. Any unfinished business? Under other business, we have one item. This is a resolution, I think, from the Region of Durham. Notice of decision of Regional Council is final, amendment number 171. What are we doing with this one? Someone got to read it, just receive it? Councillor Barton, motion to receive it? Second by Councillor Beach. All those in favor? Carried. Alrighty, we're gonna go in camera for a little bit here.
One more other business, if it's okay, Mayor?
Oh, okay, we got one, sure.
Yeah, it's a minor one, I just wanna know if there's support for this. We do not currently have a bylaw for boulevards. We talked about this before, but it wasn't listed on the minutes, so staff didn't do anything with it. But we do not have a boulevard maintenance bylaw.
No.
Just wondering if council support, I think we did last time, support having staff create one.
I think we did.
But again, it wasn't documented, so.
Oh, it was? Okay, go ahead, Debbie.
So, this actually, boulevard came forward, boulevard maintenance bylaw came forward a number of years ago, and council did not support it.
Okay.
So, that's why nothing has ever happened with it, and I believe, Councillor Barton, we look back in the minutes, there was nothing there that he had moved a resolution to that effect, so that's why you're asking that it be referred back to staff now to bring forward a draft bylaw.
And again, if that's the direction council wanna go. At the moment, we've got some residents in subdivisions that aren't actually cutting the grass up to the curb, and there's nothing, our residents and the neighbors don't love it, and, there's nothing we can do about it.
So great, you're gonna make a motion to refer to staff to develop a boulevard maintenance bylaw, and could I have a seconder? Oh, we gotta bring it forward again? Oh, okay. So then the motion is, well, you write it. The motion is to, well, whatever you wanna say.
Do we have a seconder yet? Who's second?
Well, I wanna know what the motion is first, that's all.
Oh, okay.
It's to bring forward the draft, go ahead, what do you wanna say?
Basically, what Councillor Barton has asked for is that staff be requested to bring forward a boulevard maintenance bylaw, a draft.
Okay. Do I have a seconder?
Did you, okay, I'm just.
For lack of a seconder.
Alright.
All right, that's
No
that.
problem.
Okay.
My question was answered.
I have support, moving on.
Alrighty, we're gonna go, in camera now for a few minutes.
Any questions?
Any questions of the press? Moya?
I have a couple, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just want to confirm with the parks bylaw, was that referred back to staff? Or did it end up being passed?
It was referred back
It was
to staff.
referred back to staff.
Okay, great. And the cooling centers?
Yes.
What, would that just be any municipal facility, or where are they exactly? If they open?
Municipal facilities.
So arena, pool?
Town hall,
Town hall,
Hamlet halls.
library.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
And then the animal shelter, I'm not sure if it was in the report or not, I didn't see it, but is there an estimate for when construction would start? Do we have that?
I don't think there was a timeline in the report. I don't know if Debbie can even report any further on that or not. Can you?
Through your worship, we're hoping within the next couple of weeks that we'll have submission for building permit. So it's gonna be the latter part of August, beginning of September, I would expect now, that we'll be able to start moving on it. So, but it's moving, so.
Okay,
We're
so
really
today
excited.
was approving the design and
Yes,
everything, and then
that's right.
they'll go through site plan, that'll be the next step with that?
There, well,
We're done.
I mean, basically, we wouldn't enter into a site plan agreement because it's ours.
With yourself?
But there is a process for site plan and drainage and all that kind of stuff that goes through building.
Okay, so the design is finalized,
Yes.
just moving forward on scheduling and all the details. Okay, thank you.
No questions? Anybody, question? No? Ben, do you have a question? Okay. We're going into camera. We'll be a long time in camera. What are we doing in camera? Do you want to take a quick break? 5 minutes. Well, we had, did we have a time posted? We told Adnan at 1 o'clock, right? So, huh? 1:30. We asked him to come earlier. Can we start now anyway, Debbie? Well, it's just, we'll take a 5-minute break, okay? We'll come back in 5. I dropped my...
Confirming bylaw, first and second reading, moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton, that leave be granted to introduce bylaw number 2018-121, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting of July 16th, 2018, and the same be read a first and second time. Third reading, moved by Councillor Bryan, seconded by Councillor Barton, that bylaw number 2018-121 be now read a third time, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk duly sign and seal same.